Chapter 450. Since that's the case, don't hide any treasures you have in the bottom of the box. What I'm waiting to do now is to unite and fight against foreign enemies. Heard? The sect master of Qinji Temple and the valley master of Spirit Insect Valley looked at each other and said, "Okay. Dao Yuqin is quick to talk, so I won't hide it. Fellow Daoish Qian, I'll come first." Before waiting for the sect master of the Thousand Machines Hall to speak, the valley master of the Insect Valley on the side said first, "My trump card of the Insect Valley is an ancient strange insect handed down from the wild period." Saying that, the Megu owner raised his hand. I saw a small tower appear in her jade-like palm. Insect Control Tower. The crowd secretly thought. The Insect Control Tower is the exclusive magic tool of the monks in the Insect Valley. However, the Insect Control Tower in the hands of the Valley Master of the Spirit Insect Valley is somewhat unusual. Even across the tower, Qin Daoxian still felt a palpitation. He knew that this was an instinctive spiritual warning after a high-ranking cultivator was threatened. This also proves that the spirit insects in this insect control tower are no trivial matter. Just when everyone was holding their breath, the master of Lingwagu Valley pinched the magic formula and clicked on the body of the worm-controlling tower. Next moment, I saw a golden worm fly out. As soon as this spirit worm appeared, everyone felt chills all over their bodies, and they felt even more frightened than before. Obviously, this golden worm is only the size of an adult fist, but it gives people a feeling of incomparable panic. Gold Devourer. The sect master of Tianyanzong suddenly exclaimed, and even his breathing became rapid. Sect Master Zhou has good eyesight. I didn't expect that Sect Master Zhou would recognize this kind of spirit worm that disappeared long ago. Lord Megu nodded, then looked at everyone. Yes, this is the gold devouring worm, one of the top 10 strange insects in ancient times. After this worm matures, it can devour all kinds of metals, spiritual energy, water and fire, and magic tools. Difficult to hurt, extremely cruel. Even if the Daojun of Creation Realm sees it, he has to retreat for 3 times. So smart. The sect master of Shenyang sect lit up. However, it doesn't seem to have grown to maturity, right? Sect master Mei did not change his expression. If this worm is a mature form, do we still need to discuss the strategy of retreating from the enemy here? Hearing this, the sect master of Zhuanyangzong showed a look of embarrassment. Indeed, if the gold-devouring insect was a mature body, there would be no need for everyone to worry that the Situ family would have torn those primordial spirit Daijins to shreds. In other words, if Spirit Insect Valley really mastered a mature gold-devouring worm, it would have already ruled the northern immortal region of Xianyun continent, and it would be a turn for the Situ family. Seeing that the sect master of Shenyang sect was speechless, the master of Qinji Hall cupped his hands and said, "Since the master of Megu has even brought out the gold-devouring worm, I can't be stingy." Talking. In front of everyone, the Qian sect master of the Qinji temple took out a puppet about the size of a child from the storage ring. However, compared with other puppets, the puppet in front of him has a slightly different shape. Everyone please see, this is a kind of puppet that I have painstakingly refined after tens of thousands of years in the Temple of Thousand Machines. We call it a worm puppet. Insect puppet? Qin Daoxian frowned. As its name suggests, this puppet lying on the ground is indeed somewhat similar to a bug, and if you look at it seriously, this bug is an enlarged version of the gold-devouring bug. The gold-devouring worm is only the size of an adult fist, but this gold-devouring worm puppet is the size of a 4 or 5-year-old child, and its size is dozens of times larger than the genuine gold-devouring worm. I just don't know how powerful it is. However, Qin Daoxian did not have much hope for its combat power. Although puppets can be seen everywhere in the monk war, they have never been the main force of the war. The real role of puppets is only one cannon fodder. Whether it is the war between Qianyuan Jianzong and Shenqing Dao League, or the battle between other sects, the puppet only has the function of attracting the enemy's firepower. It wasn't until a craftsman genius turned the puppet into a living Taoist soldier, which transformed the puppet's combat power. But the generation of Taoist soldiers requires spirituality. And spirituality can only be created by cultivators in the creation realm. In this way, the problem has returned to the original point. Even if there are more powerful insect puppets in the Hall of Thousand Machines, how can they be transformed into Tao soldiers? Seeing the doubts on everyone's faces, Sect Master Chen of Qinji Temple smiled mysteriously. "I know, you have always thought that my Qinji Temple is greedy for money." That's right, my Qinji Temple is greedy for money. As long as there is spiritual stone and the power of good fortune to earn, we will accept any business. We sell puppets to Qianyuan Jianzong and Shenqing Dao League, and even our puppet business has achieved the southern fairyland. Speaking of this, his tone became excited. But do you know that the real purpose of our Thousand Machines Hall is not for the Spirit Stone or the power of creation, but for refining this worm puppet, and the materials needed are too much. Much too precious. For thousands of years, the ancestors of the Qinji Palace have tried and failed many times, and this is how this insect puppet came out. Qin Daoxian looked at him sternly. From the tone of the other party, he could imagine the hardships the ancestors of the Qinji Temple had to put in to develop this worm puppet. Fortunately, the insect puppet was finally refined by my Thousand Machines Hall. Sect Master Qian said with a hint of madness. Of course, I have to thank the Spirit Insect Valley for their strong support to my Thousand Machines Hall over the past 10,000 years. Without Megu Master and the others, they provided various spirit insects for us to refer to, and we would not be able to refine them. Puppet. Hearing this, the sect master of Shenyang sect was a little impatient and said, Brother Qian, you have said so much and you haven't told us what is so wonderful about this worm puppet? You know, the enemy we are about to face is 3. If you are not careful, you will destroy your family. I know. Sect Master Qian was interrupted by Sect Master Shenyang sect, and glared at the other party with some dissatisfaction. One of the powerful things about this worm puppet is its ability to devour evolution. Hearing this, Qin Daoxuan's heart moved. You mean this worm puppet, like a gold-devouring worm, devours all kinds of spirit minerals and metals and keeps getting stronger? Devouring metal to become stronger? The sect master of Qinji Temple shook his head with a smug smile on his face. Is the gold-devouring worm a flesh and blood life, but it can devour metal to become stronger, while the worm in the Qinji Temple is a puppet life, but it can devour flesh and blood life evolution. What? Brother Qian, are you joking? Insect puppets devour flesh and blood life evolution? Isn't this a world demon? Everyone questioned. Only Fei Qinxue was very calm. She could see the biggest drawback of the worm puppet at a glance. Even if your sect's worm puppet can devour flesh and blood life evolution, at best it is just a stronger world monster. But now a stronger world demon, how can it help the current situation? Yeah, no matter how strong the insect puppet is, it can't solve the 3 Yuanshan Daojun. Isn't this nonsense? Ugh. The sect master of Shenyang sect and sect master of Tianyin sect sighed again. Qin Daoxian smelled an unusual smell from the words of the sect master Qin, and he tried to ask. Dare to ask the sect master Qin, how much spirituality does your sect's worm puppet take to turn it into a Taoist soldier? TSK, I have long heard that Dao Yuqin is good at refining tools, but now that I see it, it really is. The sect master of the Thousand Machines Hall was even more proud. The advantage of this worm is not just swallowing evolution. In fact, its biggest advantage is the consumption of turning into a Taoist soldier. Qin Daoxian felt like a cat scratching his heart, and cupped his hands. What's wrong with this? To turn a normal 6th-order human-shaped puppet into a Taoist soldier requires dozens of spirituality points. In this way, the value of a little spirituality is at least more than thousands of drops of the power of creation. Qin Daoxian nodded. He had inquired about the value of spirituality in Chuanbao Pavilion and knew that what sect master Qian said was true. It has to be said that although the sect masters in the northwest are not very strong, they know much more about the inside story than him. Before Qin Daoxian went to Su country, he didn't know about Dao soldiers, let alone the value of spirituality. And these things the Qin sect master seems to know everything. Of course, this also has something to do with the Qinji Temple running around in Xianyun continent all year round to do business. Sect master Qian continued, and this worm puppet, can turn into a Taoist soldier with just a little spirituality. A little spirituality? Qin Daoxian frowned. In this way, compared with the humanoid puppets turning into Tao soldiers, the two are dozens of times worse, not to mention that the insect puppets also have the ability to devour evolution. In this way, in terms of combat power and potential, the worm puppet will completely explode the humanoid puppet. Not to mention that this treasure can change the situation of the war between the two realms. At least once the insect puppet is popularized, the disciples of the primordial spirit period of the major forces will go to the battlefield outside the two realms to serve, and the security will be improved to a higher level. Sect Master Qian is joking. The reason why humanoid soldiers are superior in combat is because they can cast spells and instruments like human monks. Even if the insect puppet becomes a Taoist soldier, how to cast spells, how to use magic weapons. Hearing the question from the sect master of Shenyang sect, Sect Master Qian pointed to the gold-eating worm floating in the air and said, "Then what is the explanation for this gold-eating worm, fellow Taoist Wu?" The sect master of Shenyang sect frowned. "Brother Qian, isn't this a sophistry?" The gold-devouring worm is an ancient vicious worm that was naturally raised in the wild period. How can the worm puppet of your Thousand Machines Palace be compared with it? That's ridiculous. Sect Master Qian burst into anger. Why are the treasures refined by my human cultivators inferior to the spirit worms that were raised by nature? This? The sect master of Shenyang sect was at a loss for words, not knowing how to argue. If he insisted on saying that the things that were raised in the first place must be stronger than the magic tools refined by human cultivators, then the power of the pure Yang immortal tool was the best in the Phoenix meteor world. Seeing that the two were actually quarreling, the Tianyinzong sect master on the side hurriedly acted as a peacemaker. Two fellow Taoists, don't get angry. We gathered here to discuss the strategy of retreating the enemy. The enemy has not been driven away yet, but we have already started an internal strife. Wouldn't it be laughable? Humph. Sect Master Qian snorted heavily and turned his head away, unwilling to pay attention to Sect Master Shenyang sect. Seeing this, the Sect Master of Shenyang sect wanted to turn around and leave, but he did not have the confidence to face the three Yuanshan Daojun alone, so he had to stay behind. Qin Daoshan didn't care about these two quarrels. At this moment his heart felt like a cat scratching. If the worm puppet is as powerful as the Thousand Machines Hall sect master said, it would be too much to his appetite. Tao soldiers are strong, but they also cost a lot. The Taoist team in his hands alone cost hundreds of thousands of drops of the power of creation. Although all the spirit stones mastered by the Qin family are extracted, there are 20 million drops of the power of good fortune, and this brand new Taoist team can buy 40 pieces. After all, there are 40 world realm third-layer Taoist monks comparable to Xiao Yua's level. This kind of strength is not weak. Qin Daoshan didn't dare to say that he could match the powerhouse of the fifth floor of the world realm from the Situ family, but among other first-rate forces, he was definitely not weak. But, so what? Has the threat of the Situ family, or even the threat of the Wujixian men behind Xiao Yuhua been lifted? Can't be lifted. Not to mention, Qin Daoshan put 20 million drops of the power of creation into the market at one time. How much coveted it will be. This kind of coveting, the Qin family and Qinyuan Jianzong behind Qin Daoshan can't bear it at all. Although Chuanbao Pavilion's reputation is extremely strong, it is not afraid of 10,000 just in case. 20 million drops of the power of good fortune are enough to make the creator realm Daojun excited and take action. This moment, Qin Daoshan seems to have returned to the days when Qin Zhouwei was a child, and he has no sense of security. That's right, this kind of precarious and insecure days, since his strength is getting stronger and stronger, he has not experienced it for a long time. But now he finally felt that way again. If Qin Daoshan had been lying flat in Wangxinghai, not going to the land of Zhongzhou or Liangjiyuan, and only being a local emperor in the wild and remote sea area of Wangxinghai, then he would never have a sense of crisis. But he wants to go higher. If he wants to keep the Qin family and the people he loves in the next two world wars, he must constantly improve the strength of himself and the family behind him. Even if it is not for immortality but only for the sake of his family and his loved ones, he must do so. Sighed. Fei Qinxue noticed Qin Daoxuan's face, and she knew in her heart that Qin Daoxian had taken a fancy to the insect puppet in the Qinji temple. Qin Daoxuan's secrets Fei Qinxue knows well, but she does know more than 90%, including the industrial production capacity of the Qin family and the treasure of Qingmu Ding. If Qin Daoxian can obtain the refining method of insect puppets from the Qinji temple, and then use the Qin family's magic tool factory to mass-produce it, then... When Fei Qinxue thought of this, she couldn't help but be fascinated. The only thing that is uncertain now is whether the worm puppet is really as powerful as the Qinji temple said. If it is true, then no matter what, she and Qin Daoxian must get the refining method of this treasure. Now, with a smug look on his face, Sect Master Qian still doesn't know that his baby has been targeted by outsiders. Of course, even if he knew, he didn't care. I can teach you the method of refining insect puppets for free, but I can't provide spirituality. Just when Qin Daoxian was thinking about how to get the method of refining insect puppets, the Qin sect master of Qinji temple suddenly said such a sentence. Such a precious worm puppet refining method, just give it like this? Don't look at me like that. If my northwestern sects are really controlled by the Situ family, no matter it is the insect puppets or the treasures of your sects, they will not be able to keep them. Hearing this, everyone reacted. Indeed, now is not the time to be fussy. Once the battle fails, it would be polite to say that they became vassals. To be precise, they were enslaved by the Situ family. Chapter 451. Master Meigu, Sect Master Qian, the two Gao Yi. The sect master of Tianyinzong bowed his hands towards the two of them. Compared with the two of you, my Tianyinzong has nothing to offer, but I, Tianyinzong, can help you build a space teleportation formation. In this way, the strength of our four families can be twisted into one to defend against Xiao Yuhua and the Situ family. Hearing this, Qin Daoxuan's eyes lit up. Before, he thought that with the improvement of his strength, the sects such as Spirit Insect Valley, Qinji Temple and Tianyinzong became unworthy of mention. Now it seems that the background of each family cannot be underestimated. Building a space teleportation array to condense the forces under his command into one is something Qin Daoxian has long wanted to do. But helplessly, whether it is the resources to build the teleportation array, or the array mage who builds the teleportation array, Qinyuan Jianzong and the Qin family are very lacking, so this matter has been delayed again and again. Only a few short-distance teleportation formations can be built between Qinyuan Jianzong and Izumo Kingdom. It is good. The Valley Master of Spirit Insect Valley and the Sect Master of Qinji Temple looked at each other and nodded. The face of the Sect Master of Zhuanyangzong kept changing. Since the Shenqing Dao League was defeated by Qinyuan Jianzong, Zhuanyangzong and Qingwei Daoist sect had become inseparable. Now it has become the weakest of the five sects present. Whether it is the martial power of the sect or the background of the sect, the Shenyang sect is not comparable to the other four. Everyone, the Sect Master of Shenyang sect bit his head and said, although my Shenyang sect has no treasures in the bottom of the box, my sect has the closest relationship with the Qingwei Taoist sect. I would like to act as your inner responder and inquire about the news for you. Hearing this, everyone frowned. The words of the Sect Master of the Shenyang sect are called undercover if they are good, and if they are inquiring about the news if they are not good, they are just grass. You don't need to think about it. Once each sect fails to resist the Situ family, the Shenyang sect will immediately distance themselves from each sect and assume a loyal dog attitude. Just when everyone was angry, concubine Qinshue stood up and said, "So, thank you Sect Master Wu. You're welcome, it should be." The Sect Master of Shenyang sect also knew that he was wrong, and his face was a little embarrassed. My Qinyuan sword sect has nothing else but this one treasure to suppress the sect's luck. Having said that, a small golden bell appeared in the heart of concubine Chengshu's palm. It was the Yuhuang bell, the pure yang fairy of Qinyuan Jianzong. Xiao Yuhua and the Situ family took action against the northwestern sects. At least half of the reason was because of this treasure. When everyone present saw the Emperor Yu bell, they couldn't help but be attracted by it. This is a pure yang fairy weapon. Although this is not the first time everyone has seen it, it is the first time to appreciate it so closely. Using my cultivation base to motivate Yu Huangzhong, I can probably exert the strength of the first-level Daojun of the world, but I don't know what the strength of the three Daojins sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua are. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian analyzed, Xianyi, the black-armored cultivator who killed me last time, is the second-level Taoist monarch in the world. Since Xiao Yuhua and the Situ family dare to make a comeback, the three Taoist monarchs they sent are absolutely much stronger than Xianyi. That is to say, these three Daojins are all above the third layer of the world realm. Hearing this, everyone took a deep breath. For the other sects, the true monarch of the first level of the world is already the power of the sky. The third layer of the world is pure. If it wasn't for everyone frankly revealing their cards and treasures at the bottom of the box, everyone would have simply surrendered. Oh, how should this be? Sect Master Qian Buchun sighed. The eyes of Tianyinzong sect flickered. As for Ling Zong, Qingwei Dao and Qinji Temple Zongmen, they all frowned deeply. At this moment, everyone was in a light mood. After thinking about it for a while, the sect of Qinji Temple encouraged everyone, no matter what, as long as we do our best, even if we win in the end, we will be worthy of Dao Jun and our ancestors. The Valley Master is right. Ling Insect Qingwei Dao stood up and said, I, Ling Insect Valley, swear to die. Bu Chuanluan also said, I, Wan Xinghai, will never surrender. There is also the old Tao's life is near, but I don't want to sit in front of it and bear the infamy of betraying the sect and surrendering to the enemy. Bu Chunlin sect stroked his beard. My sect Master Qian, I will advance and retreat with you. And I, Bu Chuanluan, I will definitely do a good job of responding to you. Bu Chunlin's sect has troubles and I will let you know as soon as possible. This moment, everyone put aside their prejudices and vowed to join hands to fight the enemy. But Aoki Ding's mind, split and unanimity is not as complicated as it is said. Blacksmithing has to be its own, so in the end, the dry storage ring and the Qin family can only rely on themselves. Thousand Array City. One after another, the escaped light left the hidden immortal mansion one after another. Aside from Bu Chunlin's sect, Qingmu Ding and Fei Qinshue finally left. In the sky, Qingmu Ding's figure suddenly stopped. He stood side by side with Fei Qinshue, slightly cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist Chen, what do you mean?" The words fall. A figure suddenly appeared. It was Bu Chun, the Hall of Thousand Machines. Young Taoist Qin, Fei Zongmen. Chenji Hall sect court bowed to the two of them. "You two really believe in the union of various sects to fight against the suzerain's family in Xiaoyuhua?" Qingmu Ding said indifferently. "What can you do if you don't believe it? Does the owner of Gugu have a better way?" "Alas," Chenji Hall Buchun sighed, "if there is a better way, he'll look for the two of you to do something." He paused. "Tianyanzong can't be trusted. Sect Master Chen and Lingwagu also have their own abacus, but it's a pity the various puppet secret techniques that my ancestors of the Chenji Temple have painstakingly refined will face the pain of cutting off their inheritance." Aoki Ding silently listened to the words of the Chenji Temple sect, but did not say anything. "Buchunluan, you are also an artifact refiner. I wonder if you are interested in the puppet art of my Thousand Machines Hall?" After hesitating for a moment, Aoki Ding nodded. "I'm very interested." I knew you were interested, ha." The sect of Chenji Palace laughed. "I just had a secret meeting. When you saw my Zong Zong puppet, your eyes almost lit up." Bu Chuanluan turned his head, looked at concubine Qinshue beside him and said, "Is it so obvious?" "Yes." Concubine Qinshue cherishes her words like gold. "Since you are interested in the puppet technique of my Chenji Temple, I can teach you all of it. Daojun inheritance." "What about the conditions?" "Aoki Ding has no blind legal intentions. I need you to make an oath of the Great Way. If my Chenji Temple is destroyed by the sect master's family and the Wuxia immortal sect, if you enter the transcendence period in the future, I want you to destroy the sect master's family and the Wuxia immortal sect." "What?" Fei Qinshue was startled. Before she could answer Qingmu Ding, she immediately stopped her and said, "No. Bu Chun, don't promise him." With that said, Fei Qinshue looked at the sect of Chenji Hall. "I can answer for Bu Chun's house, but Wuji Xianmen absolutely not." Who knows, the Chenji Temple sect didn't even look at concubine Qinshue. He stared straight at Qingmu Ding, waiting for his response. A long time. Aoki Ding nodded slowly. "Okay. I promise you." "Good." Bu Chun in the Chenji Temple was relieved. He first took off the Shenyang sect in his right hand, and then took out the Bu Chun token. I saw that he urged the sect token and cast a spell on the Shenyang sect. In the end, the ban on the Shenyang sect was completely lifted by him. He gently held the Shenyang sect in his hand and looked at the Qingmu Ding. "Make an oath, heard." Bu Chuanluan did not procrastinate, and immediately took the oath of the avenue. With a dull thunder in the sky, the great Tao oath was established. Seeing Qingmu Ding taking the oath of the Great Way, Bu Chun of Chenji Temple immediately sighed in relief. He threw the Shenyang sect in his hand directly towards Qingmu Ding, and cupped his hands. "Farewell." After all, the figure of the Chenji Temple Zongman disappeared in an instant. "Bu Chun, you shouldn't promise him." On the side, Fei Qinshue was very annoyed. "The suzerain's family is okay to say once you become a in the future situ you can easily destroy it, but the Wuji Xianmen is different. It is known as the first immortal gate in the Phoenix meteor realm. It is not as it looks on the surface." French meaning. "Isn't the Wuji Xianmen not without the heavenly lord of tribulation?" Fei Qinshue shook her head. "That's not the case. Liangjiyuan has always been rumored that the reason why Wuji Xianmen did not have the birth of Tianzuan is because they didn't want to guard the battlefield outside Liangjiyuan, and deliberately let Qin Lang in the creation realm suppress the realm." Aoki Ding frowned. "Is there such a thing? Zuanqing didn't care about it that day?" "What is your honorable city?" Fei Qinshue sighed. "It's just the product of mutual compromise between the top forces in the Fengyun world. Perhaps for second-rate Daijins and special first-rate Daijins, Tianzuan City is a behemoth. But for the real top forces, Tianzuan City is a mascot and has no deterrent effect." For some reason, when Aoki Ding heard this, he suddenly thought of a famous international organization in his previous life. He couldn't help sighing with emotion. "In the end, you have to rely on yourself." Concubine Qinshue wanted to say something, but the oath of the Aoki Ding Dao had already been made. No matter how much she said at this time, it would be meaningless. Now the only thing they can do is to help the Temple of Thousand Machines not be invaded and destroyed by the suzerain's family. Otherwise, in the future, Qingmu Dinka will have to seek revenge for the sect master and Wuji Xianmen for it. "Correct." Fei Qinshue paused in her footsteps and looked at Qingmu Ding suspiciously. Qingmu Ding said with a smile, "Chenji Hall is obviously a hall, so why call the Gugu Master Bu Chun instead of the Hall Master?" Hearing this question, Fei Qinshue smiled and said, "This matter is related to Qin Zhan. Back then, Qin Zhan broke through the nascent soul stage and went to visit various sects, and the first stop was the Chenji Temple. At that time, the Valley Master of the Thousand Machines Palace personally received him and learned from him. In that battle, Qin Zhan was lucky enough to win, so he said, "You and I are both the Palace Masters, and it seems that the strength is comparable." At this point, the Hall Master Qian, who felt humiliated, asked others to call him Bu Chuanluan. There is still such a thing. Aoki Ding shook his head with a smile. No wonder Bu Chuanluan didn't like seeing Qin Zhan so much when he raided the Qin Daoxian faction. It seems that my brother-in-law was also an arrogant and domineering master when he was young. Say as if you're old. Concubine Qinshua rolled her eyes at him. I scolded Qin Zhan for this matter back then, and made him imprison him for 10 years in the sect. Should. After saying that, Aoki Ding hugged Fei Chengshu's slender waist, and disappeared in a flash. The next day, Qingmu Ding and concubine Qinshue, who rushed back to Shuanghu Island, not only came to enjoy the newly married Yener, but also got busy each other in order to defend against the coming powerful enemy. Twin Lakes Island. Qingmu Ding found Yuan Jianzong at the Magical Instrument Research Institute. Seeing the Qingmu Ding suddenly appearing in front of him, Yuan Jianzong was stunned and immediately cupped his hands. "Patriarch, why are you here?" No wonder Yuan Jianzong was suspicious. Qingmu Ding Kai and concubine Qinshue just got married, and it should have been a long time ago. Why was he in such a hurry to come to the Magical Instrument Research Institute to find him? Aoki Ding looked at him winking and glared at him. "Can't I come?" No, of course not. I can come. I can come." Ignoring Yuan Jianzong, who was smiling and smiling, Qingmu Ding said with a serious expression, "Dao Chu, let me ask you, how is the production situation of the sect master and the extraction of the power of creation?" Seeing that Aoki Ding was not joking, Bu Chunlin's face also became serious. "Patriarch, during this period of time, the 4th level and above item refiners in our Magic Item Research Institute have been refining day and night, and have more than doubled the production line of the sect master. During these days, the sect master has produced more than 2,200 pieces, and the sect master factory is now producing 150 pieces per day. As for the power of creation, due to the relatively short refining time, only more than 60,000 drops have been extracted for the time being. But you are worried. As long as you give us another year, we will definitely be able to refine all the 20 million power of creation." Yuan Jianzong vowed to guarantee the road. 1 year. Aoki Ding shook his head. He still has a year left. 3 months later. The Qin Daoxian faction is about to force the palaces of the northwest sects, and then Wan Xinghai. With the strength of the 3-world realm 3rd layer Qin Lang, the 4 Daijins of Spirit Insect Valley, Qinji Temple, Tianyanzong, and Sect Master Qian combined, it is difficult to say whether they can withstand a month. Anyway, Aoki Ding is not optimistic about them. In particular, Tianyanzong still looks like a piece of shit. Seeing that the situation is not good, the other party is estimated to be the first to surrender to the suzerain. After all, being a dog is better than dying. I only give you 3 months. Bu Chuanluan raised 3 fingers to Yuan Jianzong. 3 months later, I want 10 million drops of the power of creation. Hearing this, Yuan Jianzong calculated frantically, and after a while he raised his head. "No problem, 10 million drops of the power of creation in 3 months. Dao Chu, this matter is no trivial matter, it even concerns the future and destiny of my Qin family, please." Bu Chuanluan patted the other party's shoulder and said solemnly. There has never been a moment when Aoki Ding spoke to him in such a light tone. At this moment, Yuan Jianzong only felt that he had a heavy burden of hundreds of millions of pounds on his shoulders. He said in a hoarse voice, "The patriarch is worried." Dao Chu vowed to die to complete the order. "It is good." Leaving Yuan Jianzong aside, Qingmu Ding rushed back to the patriarch's immortal mansion. He now wants to see if the inheritance given to him by the Thousand Machines Palace is as magical as the other party said. Back to Xianfu. Aoki Ding immediately entered the secret room to retreat. Inside the secret room, Bu Chuanluan sat cross-legged on the futon, and couldn't wait to open the Shenyang sect, who was sent to him by Gugus Master. This is divine consciousness invaded Shenyang sect, and Bu Chuanluan saw the insect puppet displayed by Buchan in Qinji Temple at first glance. A thought moves. The worm puppet the size of a grinding disc was taken out by him from Shenyang sect. Compared with the ancient worm gold-devouring worm, this worm puppet looks different except for its appearance. The 6th order low-grade insect puppet, the Gugu owner gave it to me like this. It's really shy. Bu Chuanluan shook his head. I just don't know what exactly is the power source for this insect puppet. He fiddled with the worm puppet and found nothing. The 6th rank low-grade puppet is indeed a bit high for Qingmu Ding, who is only a 4th rank high-grade refiner. Since Aoki Ding has no worries about cultivating resources, he has completely slackened his skills in weapon refining and alchemy. Because whether it is a medicinal pill or a magic weapon, he can obtain it through the power of the family, and he does not need to refine it himself. Although he is blessed with the ability to store his understanding in the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, he can quickly improve the rank of an artifact refiner, but he has no real needs, and no matter how blessed he has no interest in improving artifact refining and alchemy techniques. Chapter 452. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 3 months have passed. Twin Lakes Island. A secret room in the Patriarch's immortal mansion. Qin Daoxian scrutinized the newly refined insect puppet in front of him, and his face was full of joy. In 3 months, the refinement level has been raised from the 4th level high level to the 6th level low level. My speed is unprecedented. Slightly proud, Qin Daoxian packed up his mood and turned to look at the insect puppet in front of him. The worm puppet in front of him is almost identical to the worm puppet presented to him by the Thousand Machines Hall sect master. This is also the only kind of worm puppet developed by the puppet masters of the Thousand Machines Hall through all their hard work. Its inspiration comes from the gold-devouring worms in the Spirit Insect Valley. Speaking of which, although the gold-devouring worms in the Spirit Insect Valley have amazing potential, they will not actually play much role in the next battle against the Situ family. Because this worm is only a larva, it is still very far from the mature stage. In the short term, it is unlikely to threaten the 3rd layer Daojun of the world realm. The worm puppet in the Thousand Machines Hall is different. This kind of worm puppet in the Hall of Thousand Machines is a brand new worm-shaped puppet. It only needs a little spirituality to turn it into a Taoist soldier, and it has the ability to devour evolution. This means that Qin Daoxian only needs to spend a few tenths of his spirituality to obtain a worm-shaped Taoist soldier, and the price/performance ratio is many times higher. Originally, 20 million drops of the power of creation could only buy 40 Taoist soldiers at most, but when they were replaced by insect-shaped soldiers, the number would have skyrocketed dozens of times. Moreover, the horror of the gold-devouring worms lies not in the individual combat power, but in their overwhelming numbers. Once the gold-devouring worm has formed a certain scale, its combat power will increase exponentially. In this way, 10 million drops of the power of creation are enough to create a swarm of nearly 10,000 insects. Qin Daoxian clenched his fists, and, it's still a swarm of 1-star Dao soldiers. What is the concept of nearly 100% star soldiers? Although the worm-shaped Dao soldiers are not like human-shaped Dao soldiers, they can form a formation, but the insect swarm is born with the characteristics that the more the number, the stronger the combat power. Comparing the two, it is not necessarily inferior to the formation of humanoid soldiers. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian counted the time and stood up solemnly. It seems that it is too late to build the insect puppet production line. Say. Qin Daoxian's figure instantly disappeared in the secret room. Qin Family Dharma Instrument Research Institute. During this period of Qin Daochu, because of Qin Daoxian's entrustment, his busy feet did not touch the ground. When Qin Daoxian was standing behind him, he didn't even realize it, and was still directing everyone to refine the Aoki Ding production line. Seeing how busy his red eyes were, Qin Daoxian coughed lightly. Cough cough. Hearing the coughing sound, Qin Daochu was startled, turned his head and said in surprise, "Patriarch, are you out?" "Well, we're out." Qin Daoxian nodded. "This time it's been hard for you." "It's not hard," Qin Daochu shook his head. "Compared to you, the Patriarch, what Daochu did is trivial." "Okay, don't be humble, you can overcomplete the task in such a short time, I know it's not easy for you." Hearing this, Qin Daochu was no longer humble. During this period of time, in order to complete the task Qin Daoxian explained on time, Qin Daochu did everything he could. If Qin Daoxian had not married his own sect master, these fourth-order refiners in Qinyuan Jianzong's refining hall would have wished to kill Qin Daochu alive. Although Qin Daoxian hadn't seen Qin Daochu's achievements, his consciousness had already covered Jianghu Island, and he saw the Qingmu Ding factory, which was specially used to refine the power of creation. There are 16 such factories in the Jianghu Island experimental zone. Moreover, in each factory, there are more than 20,000 green wooden cauldrons. It is conceivable that during this period of time, Qin Daochu pressed the high-level refiners of the refinery hall. How brutal it was. "Patriarch, this is the power of creation you want, and it's all here." With that said, Qin Daochu handed over a storage ring. Qin Daoxian swept his consciousness and immediately discovered that the power of creation in the storage ring was not only 10 million drops, but more than 14 million drops. Seeing this scene, Qin Daoxian was overjoyed. You must know that for the current Qin Daoxian, every time you increase the power of good fortune, you can buy a few more Taoist squads and a few more spirituality, thus increasing the hope of fighting against the Situ family. Qin Daoxian did not pay attention to the 3 Yuanshan Daojun sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua. But the ancestor of the Situ family had Qin Daoxian stuck in his throat. Daojun on the 5th floor of the world, even if it is placed in Liangjiuan, he is still a big man, far from being able to provoke Qin Daoxian, who is not even a Daojun. Even though Qin Daoxian has various plug-in blessings, it is no doubt that he wants to break through to the level of the 5th layer Daojun of the world realm in a short time. For Qin Daoxian, the only way to close the gap between the two sides in a short period of time is to use Dao soldiers. Originally, Qin Daoxian planned to frantically refine the power of good fortune, and then buy a team of Dao soldiers to enhance the strength of the Qin family in Qinyuan Jianzhong. But he didn't expect that the Thousand Machines Palace gave him a big surprise. The appearance of the worm puppet made Qin Daoxian realize that he only needed to pay a few tenths of the price to have a stronger Taoist soldier. This undoubtedly greatly enhanced his confidence in fighting against the Situ family and even the Wuxia immortal sect. Especially things like worm puppets, once combined with the Qin family's magical machine tool, can burst out unimaginable power. Seeing the insect puppet, Qin Daoxian had a faint idea in his heart about the idea of building the Shenhuang realm in the future. As a small world opened up by Qin Daoxian, Xuanwangji is still a barren land. But as he stepped into the 3rd floor of the world realm, after nurturing vitality in the Shenhuang realm, he was able to expand the scope of the Shenhuang realm by devouring the power of good fortune. At that time, Xuanwangji will become a great helper of Qin Daoxian. It is no longer like before, it can only be provided with the blessing of the power of the world during the battle. This is also the reason why Daojin's strength has substantially improved after breaking through to the 3rd layer of the world. Here you go. Qin Daoxian patted Qin Daochi's shoulder hard. At this moment, his mood was completely relaxed. With this power of good fortune, the 3 primordial spirit Daojins sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua were nothing to worry about. Immediately, Qin Daoxian changed his words and said, "By the way, how is the progress of the construction of the teleportation array sent by Tianyanzong?" "It's been fixed," Qin Daochu said quickly. "It's just that the area of Jianghu Island is too small and there are many important buildings. I ordered them to build the teleportation array on Sequoia Island." Sequoia Island. Qin Daoxian nodded. Sequoia Island is only a few hundred kilometers away from Jianghu Island, just outside the door. Speaking of which, this is the first space teleportation formation owned by the Qin family. It's not that the Qin family doesn't have the money to build a space teleportation array, but the construction of the teleportation array requires not only resources, but also enough background for the force. In short, Qin Daoxian wanted the Qin family and the Southern Immortal Territory to have a teleportation array that could connect with each other. This requires that the forces of the Southern Immortal Domain promise to establish contact with the Qin family. Otherwise, it would be meaningless to unilaterally build a teleportation array. Unless Qin Daoxuan's teleportation array is only built inside Wanxinghai and Izumo, and does not communicate with the outside world. But in this way it is no different from self-closing. In fact, in the northwest frontier except for the Tianyan sect, most of the other sects are relatively closed. Although they also have teleportation formations in their respective sects, very few of them have contact with the outside world. For example, Qinyuan Jianzhong, the teleportation arrays it has are all connected to their own internal territories, and none of them are connected to external forces. This is basically the same for the other sections, except for Tianyanzong and Qianji Temple. Tianyanzong is good at the way of formation, and the formation master wants to earn resources. In addition to selling various array instruments, he must also arrange various formations for other sect forces. What Guardian formation, space teleportation formation and so on. But these formations are only needed by the big forces, so this requires Tianyanzong to take the initiative to go out. The situation of Qianji Temple is basically the same. They need to sell various puppets to the outside world. The market share of the northwestern sects is too small, so they naturally want to open up markets in other regions of Xianyun continent. As a result, Tianyanzong and Qianji Temple have frequent contact with the outside world, which is quite normal. Let's go and have a look together. After all, without waiting for Qin Daochu to refuse, Qin Daoxian waved his hand, and the two figures instantly disappeared in place. Sequoia Island. Qin Daoxuan's figure appeared again, and he had already set foot in Guanhai Xianqing. Compared with when it was first built, Guanhai Xianqing is now a giant fairy city with a population of nearly 10 million. Although compared with the immortal city of Yuanshan Immortal City with a population of tens of millions, there is still a very big gap. But compared to Zhangzhou and the immortal cities in the surrounding states, it is already the top immortal city. It's so lively. Qin Daoxian sighed with emotion as he looked at the streets full of people walking into the weaving beside him. Hearing the emotion of the patriarch, Qin Daochu nodded in agreement. Yes, the Guanhai Xianqing today is the most lively Xianqing in Zhangzhou, and it is also the economic center of the entire Zhangzhou. Speaking of this, Qin Daochu seemed to think of something and smiled. Qin Dalian complained before that this Sequoia Island is too small to be developed. As the largest island with a radius of thousands of miles, it was actually called small by Qin Dalian. It can be seen that the development speed of Guanhai Xianqing is really amazing. But this is also normal. Now that the Qin family and Qinyuan Jianzong have merged, Qin Daoxian has replaced Fei Qinxue faintly and become the co-owner of Qinyuan Jianzong and Qin family. After this series of changes, the status of the Qin family naturally rose again. In the past, everyone feared the Qin family because of the existence of Qin Daoxian. Now everyone is in awe of the Qin family not only because of Qin Daoxian, but also because of Fei Qinxue and the Qinyuan sword sect behind her. Although the outside world has questioned countless times, the Qin family and Qinyuan Jianzong will eventually fight, and Wan Xinghai will also fall into civil strife. But the situation did not develop in the direction they imagined, but the Qin family and Qinyuan Jianzong merged together step by step. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian could imagine the scene of Qin Dalian complaining. He smiled. Sequoia Island is too small, you can move an island with no one around and make it into a bigger island. The patriarch said yes. Qin Daochu smiled and nodded. Although it was just a simple test, Qin Daochu already knew that the patriarch had no intention of relocating the clan. Qin Dalian complained that it was not because Sequoia Island was too small. In fact, for a nascent soul family like the Qin family, the island is too small, so it is enough to move the mountains and reclaim the sea to build a bigger one. What Qin Dalian really complained about was the lack of resources in Wan Xinghai. Compared with Xianyunzhu, Wang Xinghai is simply a wild place. Now that Qinyuan Jianzong has won the Izumo country, the Qin family can completely place the clan in the Izumo country. With the strength of the Qin family, I found a clan land in the Spirit Mountain in the Izumo country. I believe that no family force in the Izumo country would dare to give up this spiritual vein. This is the strength of the Qin family. As for the ancestral property here on Jianghu Island, the Qin family will not give up, just build a teleportation array to connect the new clan land with Jianghu Island, and the problem can be solved. But when I saw it today, the patriarch had no intention of migrating to the clan at all. Knowing Qin Daoxuan's attitude, Qin Daochu stopped talking. After all, migrating to tribal land is a big deal, and it involves all kinds of interests. In the Qin family, only Qin Daoxian has this prestige and can move to the clan with a single order. Certainly. From the perspective of the Qin family, it is definitely a good thing to migrate the clan from Jianghu Island to Izumo. Although Izumo country is located in the northwest frontier, it is in the Xianyun continent after all, and its resources are much richer than the Wangxinghai Sea area. Although the Qin family does not lack cultivation resources, there are some rare spiritual minerals and medicines that Wan Xinghai cannot buy even if they have spiritual stones. At this point, it is doomed that Wan Xinghai and Xianyunzhu cannot be compared. Qin Daoxian glanced at Qin Daochu and said nothing. Of course Qin Daoxian knew what Qin Dalian and his clans meant. If there was no accident, Qin Daoxian did plan to open a new clan land in the Izumo country. But not right now. Because Izumo is too close to the Qingwei Taoist sect, and now the Qingwei Taoist sect still has 3 Yuanshan Taoists entrenched. His Qin family is in a hurry to move the clan to Izumo, so why not turn on the lantern in the toilet and seek death? According to Qin Daoxuan's calculations. When the March period came, the first thing that the Qingwei Taoist sect had to deal with was the 4 sects that were relatively close, not the Qin family and Qinyuan sword sect in Wangxinghai. Not surprisingly, Qinyuan Jianzong and Qin family should be the last ones the other party wants to win. If it were Xiao Yuhua, he would definitely choose to invade Wan Xinghai and the Emperor Yubel. But now Xiao Yuhua has invited the Situ family as foreign aid. With the strength of the Situ family, Xiao Yuhua will definitely not be led by the nose. With the style of the Situ family, he will definitely fight steadily, and gradually bring all kinds of Northwest into complete control, and this is the way to do Wan Xinghai. After all, the ban on Tianzuan city is still there. Xiao Yuhua can be willful, but the Situ family cannot. Steady and steady, bit by bit nibbling away at the Northwest sects, and Wan Xinghai is the safest way. The two walked slowly on the street. Soon, the two came to the place where Tianyinzong Array Mage helped build the teleportation array. This teleportation array is a lot smaller than the giant teleportation array in Liangjiyuan, but it is not much different from the teleportation array in Thousand Formation City. Sent to the array. The array mage of Tianyinzong is debugging this teleportation array. Peripheral. The cultivators of the Chen family stood in a row, blocking off the onlookers. Through the crowd, Chen Daoxian saw a familiar figure. Chapter 453. Nascent Soul Monk Qin Fuxing. That's right. With the help of Xing Yuandan, Qin Fuxing finally became the second monk of the Qin family to break through to the nascent soul period after Qin Daoxian. Now, Qin Fuxing was shrouding the surroundings faintly with his divine sense, and he looked at the crowd with high vigilance. Until he saw Qin Daoxian. Patriarch. Qin Fuxing's voice suddenly sounded in Qin Daoxian's sea of consciousness. Well, how is the construction of the teleportation array? Patriarch, the teleportation formation was successfully built a month ago, and now the formation masters of Tianyinzong are debugging the formation. Debugging? Qin Daoxian thought for a while. You mean determine the space anchor of the teleportation? Yes. Qin Fuxing nodded. Tianyinzong is worthy of being a sect known for its formation, and the space anchors recorded in their sect are very rich. Not only in Zhongzhou, but they have teleportation anchors in the southern immortal territory, the western immortal territory and the eastern immortal territory. There was a hint of excitement in Qin Fuxing's tone. These teleportation anchor points may be nothing to first-class forces such as Top Sect and Wuxia, but for a second-rate force it is very precious. Especially for these second-rate sects in the northwest frontier. Like Qinyuan Jianzong in terms of strength, it is by no means weaker than Tianyinzong, but there is no space teleportation array in their sect that communicates with the outside world. Even when they responded to Tianzuan City's call and rushed to help Liangjiyuan, they all traveled to the capital of Su Kingdom by Tianyinzong teleportation array. Just when Qin Daoxian was about to say something, the teleportation pattern in front of him suddenly lit up. Immediately after, a figure instantly appeared on the teleportation array. Qin Daoxian took a closer look and saw that it was none other than his newlywed Taoist partner, concubine Qin Xue. Share. Qin Daoxian's figure flashed and appeared in front of Fei Qinxue. When Fei Qinxue saw Qin Daoxian, her face was happy at first, but then her pretty face became serious again. What's wrong? Qin Daoxian couldn't help but ask. Qingwei Dao has dispatched troops. Qin Daoxian frowned. Who is the target? Tianyinzong or? Fei Qinxue shook her head. It's the Hall of Thousand Machines. What? Qin Daoxian's mood suddenly became very heavy. Among the four major sects, Zhuanyingzong, Tianyinzong, Qinji Temple and Spirit Insect Valley, what Qin Daoxian cared about most was Qinji Temple. Because he made an oath of the Great Way in order to obtain the inheritance of the sect of Qinji Temple. If the Temple of Thousand Machines were destroyed in this battle, he would have to shoulder the burden of revenge for them. And the object of Qin Daoxian's revenge is not only the Situ family, but also the unfathomable Wuxia. Be honest. Qin Daoxian had been to the capital of Su Kingdom and saw the tip of the iceberg of the power of Wuxia. If it is not necessary, he does not want to confront this force directly. Although he and Xiao Yuhua of Wuxia have formed a cause and effect, this does not mean that Qin Daoxian will fight to the end with Wuxia. It's two different things. There are many ways for Qin Daoxian to get rid of Xiao Yuhua. The most obvious way is to kill him on the extraterritorial battlefield of Liangjiyuan. The extraterritorial battlefield is the place where the two worlds meet. Countless world monsters and human race cultivators fought there, which could be called an Azura field. There, the death of a third-level Taoist of the world realm is no different from the death of an ant, and it will not cause the slightest disturbance. Even if Wuxia knew that Xiao Yuhua died there, they would not investigate how the other party died. Unless Qin Daoxian did a dirty job when he beheaded the opponent and was seen by other monks. But Qin Daoxian has come over so many years, not to mention how ruthless, at least he will deal with one or two monks who are not as strong as himself, and there will be no problems at all. Where's the Xinyang sect? Didn't they say that they wanted to act as an inner responder and deliver news for us? Humph. Zhuanyingzong is a sloppy sect, saying that it is delivering news for us, but in fact, it was only passed on to us when the Qingwei Taoist army invaded the sphere of influence of the Qinji Temple. Moreover, he still used the tone of surrender for fear of being discovered by the Qingwei Taoist faction to have something to do with us. Hear this. Qin Daoxian's eyelids jumped slightly, and then he shook his head. Ignore it for now, Shuer, I have something to explain to you. My husband ordered it. Concubine Qin Shuefu bowed her head, raised her head and said sternly, I'm going to go out and buy Taoist soldiers to defend against the Qingwei Taoist faction. I don't know how long it will take to come back from this trip, but I will definitely come back as soon as possible. He gently supported Fei Chengshi's shoulder. While I'm not at home, he'll leave everything here to you. Remember, don't be impulsive. Even if the 4 major sects ask you for help, you don't need to pay attention. As long as you keep yourself, the final victory will definitely belong to us. Fei Chenxue nodded heavily. The Qingwei Taoist faction now has 3 Daijins in charge, and the attack on the Qinji temple must be like a broken bamboo. Even if this battle dragged on a little longer, a month would be enough for the Qingwei Taoist faction to capture the entire territory of the Qinji temple. The 4 major sects add up, that is, for months no Xianyangzong can't be counted, and only 3 months. In other words, 3 months from now, the Chen family and Qinyuan Jianzong will likely face the Qingwei Taoist faction with 3 Yuanshan Taoists. Qin Daoxian finished explaining. He didn't even care about explaining Chen Fuxing. He flew directly to the center of the teleportation array, and said to the Tianyinzong cultivator who was playing with the teleportation array, "I'm going to the capital of Su Kingdom in Zhongzhou." "Yes, your majesty." A Tianyinzong Zifu cultivator handed over his hands, and was about to activate the formation for Qin Daoxian. Just as the teleportation patterns flickered, Qin Daoxian remembered something, and quickly took off the bronze bracelet on his hand, performed the imperial object technique, and made it fly towards the concubine Qinxue. After taking the bronze bracelet, only one sentence echoed in Fei Chengshi's ears. "If you can't go wrong, run." Fei Qinxue just wanted to answer, but found that the teleportation array shone with a burst of light. The next moment, Qin Daoxuan's figure had disappeared. Looking at the empty teleportation formation, Fei Qinxue smiled and said to herself, "Run? This is my home. Where should I run?" Zhongzhou, the capital of Su State. After less than a year, Qin Daoxian came back here again. Only this time he was carrying huge sums of money. Nearly 15 million drops of the power of creation gave Qin Daoxian unprecedented confidence. At the beginning he drooled when he saw the treasures in Chuanbao Pavilion, but the treasures he couldn't afford to buy would be all his in the near future. Of course, Qin Daoxian has not forgotten what is most important to him at this moment. Not to buy treasures, but to buy Dao soldiers to defend against powerful enemies. If there was no threat from the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua, Qin Daoxian would definitely use this huge sum to improve his own strength. But now the speed of increasing strength is too slow. Even if he uses Tianhua Yulu to raise his soul to the threshold that can break through the primordial spirit stage, does he still have a physical body that he has not passed? The indestructible real body that Qin Daoxian cultivated was the real body of Zhu Rong. Although this kind of real power is strong, the consumption of resources and energy is also very amazing. Over the years, Qin Daoxian has used the fire of the devil to refine the body, refining resources, but the fire of the devil is still stuck on the edge of transformation and cannot move. Qin Daoxian couldn't help but wonder, can body refining resources really help the transformation of demon god's fire? If the fire of the devil can't transform, doesn't it mean that his Zhu Rong real body will never succeed in cultivation? Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian became inexplicably irritable. Unsuccessful cultivation, coupled with the presence of strong enemies, made Qin Daoxuan's Dao heart unable to resist waves. Forget it, no matter what, let's solve the immediate crisis first. Shaking his head, Qin Daoxian summoned an escape shuttle and flew towards the location of the Chuanbao Pavilion. So, Chuanbao Pavilion has arrived. After getting off the escape shuttle, Qin Daoxian walked into the Chuanbao Pavilion. Perhaps Qin Daoxian was an old customer. The first time he set foot in the Chuanbao Pavilion, the fairy in Nishang who had received him came to him. Qin Daoxian, who knew the identity of fairy Nishang, was not surprised by her arrival. "Fellow Taoist, we meet again." Qin Daoxian bowed his hands. Fairy Nishang blessed her with a salute. "Young Dao Yu Qin is polite." After a pause, she continued, "I don't know what Dao Yu Qin came to buy this time?" "Dao soldier." Qin Daoxian said bluntly, "There is also information about the Situ family." Compared with Xiao Yuhua, the direct disciple of Wu Jixianmen, Qin Daoxian was more worried about the power of the Situ family. As one of the few vassals of Wu Jixianmen, the Situ family is very powerful. Qin Daoxian didn't know how many Yuanshan Daijins the Situ family had, but he knew that when the Situ family's ancestor showed his strength in Liangjiuan for the last time, he was already a world-level 5th layer Daojun. This is where Qin Daoxian feels the most pressure. The Daojun of the 5th layer of the world is far from being able to compete with him now. Even if he breaks through to the primordial spirit stage now, it will be of no use. Now that he has broken through to the Yuanshan stage, he is only a second-level Taoist of the world realm. Even if he is extremely talented, he can raise the Tao realm to the third layer of the world realm in one fell swoop when he breaks through the Yuanshan stage. That is just Xiao Yua's strength level, and he is still far from the fifth-level Daojun of the world realm. When Fairy Nishang heard Qin Daoxuan's request, she still kept an indifferent smile on her face and said, "Of course, the intelligence of the Situ family is worth 500,000 points of fortune. As for Taoist soldiers, Qin Taoist does not know what Taoist soldiers to buy? 5,000? Qin Daoxian was shocked. It's not that he can't afford the power of creation, but he is shocked by the strength of the Situ family. Originally he wanted to come, even if the Situ family had a Taoist on the fifth floor of the world, it would not be so strong. Just one piece of information is worth 500,000 points of fortune, enough for him to buy a brand new Taoist team. Okay, I want this information." Qin Daoxian nodded. "As for the Taoist soldiers, do you have a Creation Realm Taoist soldiers here?" "Creation Realm Dao soldier?" Fairy Nishang stopped for a moment. "Dao Yu Qin means 6-star Taoist soldiers? Right? This. I'm sorry, I really don't have such treasures for sale in my Chuanbao pavilion. The powerhouses in the creation realm are all beings who can create things out of thin air and create life. The strength of Taoist soldiers has reached this level, and it is also as one of the most powerful. Which force in the two worlds can sell such a strong man at will?" These words, the stunned Qin Daoxian was speechless. Yes, Taoist soldiers are also lives. They are definitely different from puppets. They have souls, emotions and wisdom. Even if there is a Taoist soldier whose strength reaches the realm of creation, how can he be restrained only by the formation inscribed before the Enlightenment? Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian simply stopped talking about the 6-star Taoist soldier. "Then what is the highest number of Taoist soldiers that your Chuanbao pavilion can sell?" 5 stars. Fairy Nishang said with a smile. "Okay, I bought it." This time, Fairy Nishang was frightened by Qin Daoxuan's amazing aura, and hesitantly said, "Fellow Taoist Qin, the price of this 5-star Taoist soldier is extraordinary. You. How many? 100 million power of creation, or 100,000 spirituality?" Qin Daoxian was so choked that he couldn't say a word. After a long while, he rolled his throat and said, "I take the liberty to ask, what is the price of the pure Yang immortal artifact sold by your pavilion?" Although the pure Yang immortal artifact is an immortal artifact in essence, it is only a higher level magical artifact, and there are huge differences between the pure Yang immortal artifacts, so the prices are not the same. But in my Chuanbao pavilion, the cheapest pure Yang immortal artifact requires 10 million points of good fortune. Call? Qin Daoxian took a deep breath. The price of a pure Yang immortal artifact is actually less than that of a 5-star Taoist soldier, which Qin Daoxian never expected. The price of a 1-star Taoist soldier is not expensive, with less than 100,000 fortune-telling powers. As for the 5-star Taoist soldiers, the price has skyrocketed by 1,000 times. But thinking of the strength gap between the two, Qin Daoxian felt that the price was quite conscientious. Speaking of which, the 6th-order magic weapon and even the 7th-order magic weapon are of the younger brother level compared with the Taoist soldiers. Tao soldiers are the things that the real big dogs play. This thing does not have enough background, I dare not touch it. There are so many sects in the northwestern border of Xianyun continent, and none of them have Tao soldiers in command. It can be seen that this is not something that ordinary sects can afford. If Qin Daoxian hadn't mastered the method of mass-producing Qingmu Ding, he would not have been so inflated to ask the price of the 5-star Taoist soldiers. Seeing the embarrassment on Qin Daoxuan's face, Fairy Nishang didn't make fun of it. In fact, Qin Daoxian was able to accept the sale of 500,000 points of good fortune, and Fairy Nishang had completely raised Qin Daoxuan's status to the VIP level in her heart. For example, Xiao Yuhua of Wuji Xianmen, his status is high enough, but let alone asking him to use 500,000 drops of the power of good fortune. Now it is enough to ask him to use 100,000 drops of the power of good fortune. It can be seen that Qin Daoxuan's business of 500,000 drops of the power of creation in one bite has had a great impact on Fairy Nishang. Now she is more and more convinced that Qin Daoxian is the core disciple of the top force, and he is also the most favored bloodline of Heavenly Venerate. Otherwise it really doesn't make sense. A cultivator whose strength is only at the nascent soul stage can come up with this huge sum of money. Of course she wouldn't have any crooked thoughts. Chuanbao Pavilion asked Taoist soldiers to sell it to prevent the human race monks from handling large-scale transactions, which would be malicious to customers and destroy the signboard of Chuanbao Pavilion. When Tao soldiers come to sell, there is no such concern. As a kind of puppet life, Tao soldiers do not have the extraterritorial greed. Compared with the human race monks, their minds are very pure. Chapter 454, Half an Hour. Qin Daoxian nodded slowly and said, "Then, how about the price of your 4-star Taoist soldiers?" 1,000,001. Fairy Nishang held up a jade finger. Qin Daoxian breathed a sigh of relief. The price was 10 times lower than the invisible Taoist soldiers, but it was similar to what he expected. However, in the final analysis, the 4-star Taoist soldiers are still too expensive. The power of creation brought by Qin Daoxian is only enough to buy a 4-star Taoist soldier, although the strength of the 4-star Taoist soldier is enough to solve the urgent needs of Qinyuan sword sect. But what if the 3 Yuanshan Daijins of the Qingwei Dao faction divided their forces to attack? Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian was more inclined to buy 3-star Taoist soldiers, or a 2-star Taoist team. Compared with the 1-star Taoist team, the strength of the 2-star Taoist team is no less than that of the ordinary 3-star Taoist team. But Qin Daoxian didn't think it was safe because he didn't know the strength of the 3 World Realm 3rd-level Daijins sent by the Situ family in Xiaoyuhua. If they are of average level in the same rank, it is not a cause for concern. A 2-star Taoist squad or even a 1-star Taoist squad might be able to shock them. If it is an invincible powerhouse of the same rank, then the mere 2-star Taoist squad is not enough. In order to be foolproof, Qin Daoxian decisively chose to buy 3-star Taoist soldiers, and it was a complete Taoist team. Fellow Daoist Qin wants to buy a whole 3-star Taoist team? Fairy Nishang said in surprise. Yes, what is the price? The price of a 3-star Taoist soldier is about 1 million fortune power, but for a complete Taoist team, the price will not overflow. I am afraid that 5 million drops of fortune power will be needed. 5 million drops of the power of creation by 4 3-star Taoist soldiers. This price is not cheap. But to Qin Daoxian it was nothing because the power of creation he brought this time was nearly 15 million drops. He can almost buy 3 of such a Taoist team. Okay. I want to. Qin Daoxian raised 2 fingers. Hearing this, Fairy Nishang was short of breath and she quickly said, "Fellow Daoist Qin, wait a moment, I want to report to the supervisor. This transaction is too big, and it has exceeded my authority." Saying that, he also bowed apologetically to Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian stretched out his hand and made a gesture of please. Next moment, Fairy Nishang drove the fairy cloud and left the hall. A figure appeared outside the gate of the main hall in an instant, and walked slowly into the hall. "Friend Qin." Before anyone arrived, the voice first entered Qin Daoxian's ears. Qin Daoxian heard the sound and looked. A young monk with a handsome face, a bun on his head and a loose robe, slowly walked towards him. Pin Dao Yun Shuzi is the person in charge here. Obviously this monk named Yun Shuzi was standing in front of him, but he couldn't feel any breath, as if the monk in front of him didn't exist at all. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian couldn't help but feel a chill behind his back. The cultivation of this man is simply unfathomable. With Qin Daoxian's Dao realm, he couldn't actually detect the truth of the other side. Of course, he didn't release his divine sense to detect each other, and rashly released his divine sense to detect others, which was an extreme provocative behavior. Qin Daoxian naturally wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Junior has seen Senior Yun Shuzi. Qin Daoxian respectfully bowed his hands to the other party. "Fellow Daoist Qin, don't be polite." Yun Shuzi waved his hand and said with a smile, "I just heard Xiaowan say, do you want to buy it?" Senior this. Qin Daoxian was stunned, speechless. At this moment he suddenly realized that this person is not a human race cultivator but a Taoist soldier, and he is a Taoist soldier in the creation realm. Seeing Qin Daoxian's ugly face, Yun Shuzi smiled. Jokes, Qin Dao, you don't have to mind." Immediately afterwards he changed the subject. "Of course, if you have enough money, Dao Yu Qin, I can also consider selling myself to you." Senior is joking. Qin Daoxian smiled awkwardly. "Okay, no more nonsense, you want 2 3-star Taoist teams, right?" "That's right." When it comes to business, Qin Daoxian's face also became serious. The purchase of 3-star Taoist soldiers is related to the safety of Wan Xinghai, and he has to pay attention to it. You are in such a hurry to buy and buy the 3-star Taoist soldiers, and then buy the information of the Situ family. Did you offend the Situ family? Hearing this, Qin Daoxian pursed his lips tightly and said nothing. Yun Shuzi laughed. "You are talking too much, don't blame fellow Daoist Qin. Where is the senior?" Qin Daoxian bowed his hands. "However, if fellow Daoist Qin really has a need, you can come to my Chuanbao pavilion to seek solutions for the next generation. After all, the next generation also wants to make some extra money." Hearing this, Qin Daoxuan's heart moved slightly. Yep. Who said you have to buy a Creation Realm Taoist soldier? It's perfectly fine to ask the other party to scare the Situ family. The reason why the Situ family is arrogant and domineering is not because they have an ancestor who is a 5th-level Taoist in the world. Dao Jun on the 5th floor of the world, looking at the battlefield outside the 2 realms, he is a big boss. In the absence of the Creation Realm, the 5th layer of the World Realm is the pinnacle of power. The Dao Jun of the Creation Realm generally rarely takes action on the battlefield outside the 2 realms. Because once a cultivator reaches the Creation Realm, he can create spirituality out of thin air. With this method, he can continuously create a Taoist soldier comparable to the primordial spirit cultivator. This is a core strategic force. Compared with sending a Creation Realm cultivator to go to the battlefield outside the territory desperately, let him sit in the rear and create more Taoist soldiers, it is obviously more cost-effective. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's expression of doubt, the Yun Shuzi hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Qin, don't look at me like that. Although I am a 6-star Taoist soldier, there are still some differences from your human race's Creation Realm cultivator. The biggest difference is that I can't create spirituality out of thin air like your human cultivator." Speaking of this, Yun Zuzi's tone was full of regret. Obviously, the inability to create spirituality out of thin air is a huge lack for him. Qin Daoxian felt that it might be related to the road, otherwise the other party would not have such a low tone. Haha. Don't blame fellow Daoist Qin, I haven't chatted with anyone for a long time, there is a lot of nonsense. Senior Jin Yuliang said, the junior has benefited a lot, how can it be considered nonsense? Qin Daoxian quickly cupped his hands. You kid. Yun Shuzi pointed to Qin Daoxian, shook his head with a smile, but it's useless for you to flatter me. The price of the treasures in the Chuanbao Pavilion is all set by the pavilion owner himself, and even I have no right to change it. Then, seniors always have the right to decide the price of asking seniors to sell, right? Having said that, Qin Daoxian carefully looked at the other party. Good boy, are you waiting for me here? Yun Shuzi laughed. That's okay, but then again the old guy from Sidus family is not weak. I have to waste a lot of energy to deal with him. Your price is too low and I don't want to go. Senior, think how much is appropriate? Yun Shuzi stretched out a finger. Qin Daoxian moved in his heart and said, 1 million drops of the power of creation? Yun Shuzi shook his head. 10 million. What? Qin Daoxian almost jumped up in a hurry. 10 million drops of the power of good fortune. The Qin family is now using the power of the whole family, but they have only extracted 15 million drops of the power of good fortune. This is the result of the Qin family's accumulation of spirit stones and a large number of greenwood cauldrons for many years. 10 million drops of the power of creation can buy a 4-star Taoist soldier. The 2 3-star Taoist teams he purchased were only 10 million drops of the power of creation. Also, the Nishang fairy named Shaowan said that a pure yang immortal artifact of the lowest rank is only 10 million drops of the power of creation. The price of this big shot is comparable to a pure yang fairy weapon. He just asked the transcending tribulation heavenly venerate to take action, and it wasn't that expensive, right? Qin Daoxian looked at Yun Shuzi and felt indignant in his heart. Daoyuqin, don't look at me like that, Yun Shuzi said with a smile. Do you think that the money you make from your next shot is more ruthless than Tianzuan? Qin Daoxuan's face was blue, and he simply nodded. It seems that fellow Daoist Qin has never been to the extraterritorial battlefield of Liangjiuan. Why did the senior say this? Yun Shuzi said with a smile. If you have been to the battlefield outside the territory, you will find that those top-notch Yuanshan Daijins earn more money than most of the heavenly venerates. This? Qin Daoxian was completely confused. For a long time, the ability of monks to make money was proportional to their own strength. It was the first time that Qin Daoxian had heard that Du Jie Tianzhen's ability to make money was not as good as Yuanshan Daojun. But looking at Yun Zizi's appearance, it didn't seem like he was lying. Moreover, the old guy from the Situ family is not weak, and your 10 million drops of the power of creation will never be in vain. Speaking of this, Yun Shuzi no longer persuaded him but talked about the Taoist soldier business. Okay, let's stop the digression. I brought you the 2 Taoist soldiers you want. Talking. With a wave of Yun Zizi's hand, 2 3-star Taoist squads totaling 8 3-star Taoist soldiers suddenly appeared in front of Qin Daoxian as the space fluctuated. This is the master that you will protect in the future, please say hello. Heard. The 8 3-star Taoist soldiers bowed and saluted Qin Daoxian in unison. I'll wait to see the master. Don't be too polite. Qin Daoxian helped him and turned to look at Yun Shuzi. Junior still has treasures to buy. Heard. Yun Shuzi nodded. Fellow Daoist Qin, let's talk. the capital of Su State. In front of a space teleportation array. Qin Daoxian came to the capital of Su Kingdom less than a day before he ended the journey and was ready to rush back to Wangxinghai. He did not expect that this purchase would be so smooth. After all, the things he asked to buy were of a very high grade, and they were unheard of treasures in the northwest border. Originally, Qin Daoxian thought that no matter how powerful the Chuanbao Pavilion is, he must prepare for it. As a result, the other party didn't have any preparations at all, and paid Qin Daoxian the money and delivered the goods directly. This also gave Qin Daoxian a new understanding of the heritage of Chuanbao Pavilion. But thinking that the powerhouse in the sub-pavilion is the powerhouse of creation realm, Qin Daoxian was relieved. You must know that the Wuxia men, known as the largest sect in the Phoenix Meteor realm, is only in the realm of creation. In this case, Yun Zi's strength has been able to compete with the strongest monk in Wuxia men, which shows the profound heritage of Chuanbao Pavilion. Twin Lakes Island. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. In front of the pavilion of Linghu Lake, two fairies who play the roles of Tianxiang are sitting by the lake. These two are not other people, they are the two Taoist companions of Qin Daoxian. Perhaps the Qin family and Wan Xinghai are facing a great crisis. For a while, Luo Li couldn't care about the taste in her heart, and she worried about Wan Xinghai's future and destiny together with Fei Qinxue in front of her. The three Yuanshan Daijins are fatal threats to both the Qin family and the Qin Yuan sword sect. If she hadn't understood the trump card in Qin Daoxuan's hand, Fei Qinxue would have been preparing to retreat for the sect and the Qin family at this moment. Sister concubine, you said that when Lang Chen went to Su country this time, would he be caught by Xiao Yuhua? After all, it is the site of Wuxia men. Seeing Luo Li's fidgety appearance, Fei Qinxue comforted her. Don't worry, sister, the Wuji immortal sect is very powerful. After all, Xiao Yuhua is just a direct disciple of the Wuji immortal sect, and he can't influence the Wuji immortal sect. She paused. Besides, the place where Qin is going is nominally the site of Wuji men, but as the hub of the two worlds, Wuji men can't cover the sky with only one hand, and my sister doesn't need to worry. That's fine, that's fine. As Luo Li spoke, the worried look on her pretty face was not uncommon at all. On the other hand, Fei Qinxue, although she was also very worried about Ailang's safety in her heart, did not show any abnormality on her face. What are you whispering about? Just as she was about to continue comforting Luo Li, a familiar voice rang in their ears. Immediately after, the space fluctuated for a while, and Qin Daoxuan's figure suddenly appeared in front of the two. Qin Lang. Husband. The two called out in unison. The only difference was that Luo Li rushed directly into Qin Daoxuan's arms, while Fei Qinxue was much more reserved and looked on with a blushing face. Qin Daoxian stretched out his arms and gave Fei Qinxue a gesturing glance. Immediately, Feiking's face turned even redder, but she still relied on Qin Daoxuan's arms obediently. For the first time he hugged his two Taoist companions left and right, and Qin Daoxian suddenly felt a sense of heroism in his heart. This time he not only has to completely eradicate the threat of the three Yuanshan Daijins, but also takes this opportunity to completely subdue the northwestern sects. A few people stay warm for a while. The calm Luo Li was the first to react, and immediately blushed and broke away from Qin Daoxuan's embrace. Seeing this, Fei Qinxue also let go of Qin Daoxian. It's just that compared to Luo Li's expression that she can't wait to find a crack in the ground, Fei Qingshue's expression is much calmer. Although Fei Qinxue was also very shy in her heart, her pretty face showed a calm look. Qin Lang, it seems that you have gained a lot this time. Qin Daoxian nodded to concubine Qinxue. It's true that the harvest is not small, I dare not say it against the Situ family, but dealing with the current situation is a piece of cake. Hear this. Fei Qinxue was completely relieved. She knows what a terrifying wealth Qin Daoxian holds in his hands. Although money does not represent strength in the world of immortal cultivation, when the wealth reaches a certain level, it can also burst into huge power. In particular, there is a power in the Fengyun world such as Chuanbeige which can do all kinds of business, and it can help Qin Daoxian to convert money into strength to the greatest extent. Fei Qinxue looked at Qin Daoxian with beautiful eyes. What are you going to do next? Chapter 455. Improve your strength and watch it change. Qin Daoxian said word by word. When Fei Qinxue heard this, she was shocked. She can understand that improving strength is a top priority for cultivators to improve their cultivation and strength at any time, especially in the face of the current invasion of foreign enemies. But watching the changes, it seems that Qin Daoxian is a little unfriendly. After all, a few days ago they won Shanghai and the northwestern sects had just formed an offensive and defensive alliance. Although everyone did not make an oath of the Great Tao, it is not like Qin Daoxuan's style of breaking the contract in such a grand manner. Immediately, Fei Qinxue seemed to think of something and tentatively said, "Qin Lang, you want to take the northwestern sections." "That's right, I want to take this opportunity of pressure from the outside world to integrate all the major sects in the northwest with my Wan Xinghai to form a larger immortal alliance." Hearing Qin Daoxuan's thought, Fei Chengshu's heart beat like thunder. Why did the various sects rebel against the Situ family? Not because they did not want to become a vassal of the Situ family. But they never thought that they would go to a Situs house and be targeted by Qin Daoxian again. In other words, even if they thought about it, they all thought that compared with the threat Qin Daoxian would bring to them in the future, the current threat to the Situ family was even greater. The northwestern sects plus Wan Xinghai will form a new immortal alliance. No matter in terms of territory or strength, they are all first-class forces, and they are still the strongest among first-class forces. After all, the 2 3-star Taoist teams that Qin Daoxian bought from the Chuanbao Pavilion at a high price were not vegetarians. Talking. Qin Daoxian took out a simple ink jade card and handed it to concubine Qinxue, saying, "This is a Tibetan soldier card, there is a whole 3-star Taoist soldier team in it, and this one Tianhua Yulu, its effect is the same as Tai Xinxue. All of them can enhance the cultivator's soul, which is a rare treasure to assist cultivators to break through the primordial spirit stage. And this?" Qin Daoxian took one after another and took out various treasures from the storage ring. Not only Fei Qinxue but also the Xing Yuandan suitable for Luoli. Qin Daoxian bought a lot this time. There were only 3 Xing Yuandan last time and he gave them all to Qin Fuxing. Qin Fuxing did not bear the heavy trust and broke through to the nascent soul period. It is a pity that Qin Fuxing is not like Qin Daoxian. Even if he breaks through to the nascent soul stage with the help of the power of the elixir, he still cannot keep up with the realm of the Tao. Even after breaking through to the nascent soul stage, it seems that the mana is vain and unstable, and it needs to be polished and improved to improve the realm of the Tao. In a short period of time, Qin Fuxing can no longer use this kind of method to promote the growth of seedlings. Otherwise it might really shake his foundation. Although Qin Daoxian hoped that in addition to him, the Qin family would have someone else appear. But it can't be at the expense of Qin Fuxing's path. Otherwise wouldn't Qin Fuxing become a tool like a Taoist soldier? Fei Qinxue took a piece of treasure handed over by Qin Daoxian, and the expression on her pretty face changed from shock at the beginning to gradually numbness. 15 million drops of the power of good fortune are too many, so much that one can buy a pure yang fairy weapon in Chuanbao Pavilion. With this huge sum of money to buy cherished resources, you can naturally buy a lot. This is because Qin Daoxian put the bulk of this huge sum on the 2 3-star Taoist teams, otherwise he would have bought more treasures. Fei Qinxue put the treasures handed over by Qin Daoxian into the storage ring one by one, and then thought of something, said, "By the way, I also have something for you." "What?" Qin Daoxian asked curiously. "It is this." Saying that, Fei Qin brought a golden horn-style magic weapon from the snow. "This is..." Qin Daoxian frowned. "This is the Sun Mother Sound Transmission Snail. You can think of it as a super long-distance communication jade talisman, but compared with the ordinary communication jade talisman, the distance it transmits information is thousands of times farther." Hearing this, Qin Daoxuan's eyes suddenly lit up. "Oh, there is such a good thing?" As a traveler, Qin Daoxian of course knows what communication and transportation mean to a force. The emergence of the teleportation array can clench the scattered forces into fists and twist them into a force. And long-distance real-time communication allows the power controller to know the information of every corner of the power under his command without leaving home. It can be said that both of them are very important to a power. When Qinyuan Jianzong and Shenqing Daomen fought against each other, Qin Daoxian didn't have this kind of treasure in his hands, only the most common communication jade talisman. Therefore he could not know the news that Uncle 13 was kidnapped by the ancestors of the Jiang family. The same is true. Now Qingwei Daoist party uses troops in Shenji Hall, Spirit Insect Valley and Tianyanzong. With this treasure, Qin Daoxian and the others will be able to grasp the battle situation of the Northwest sects in real time. This is very important for Qin Daoxuan's next plan. Although Qin Daoxian wanted to use the hands of the Situ family to completely subdue the northwestern sects, the premise was that the pressure of the Situ family should not be too great, and the northwestern sects would be leveled directly. If so, wouldn't all his plans become a joke? Qin Daoxian took the Sun Mother Sound Transmission Snail, looked at it carefully and said, "Good baby. Hear this." A smile flashed across Fei Chenzuikio's face. This treasure was a special magic weapon that she spent a lot of time buying from the outside world. Not to mention how high its rank is, but its strategic value is by no means inferior to that of ordinary one-star Dao soldiers. The Sun and Sun sound transmission snail has 1 female snail and 7 child snails. The one in your hand, Qinlang, is the female snail. As she said that, Fei Chenxue turned her palm over, and in her palm, 3 snails floated quietly. Why 3? Qin Daoxian was stunned for a moment. There should be 4 left snails in Lingwu Valley, Qianji Temple and Tianyanzong. There is one more, I gave it to Shenyang sect. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian nodded. Regardless of whether Shenyang sect is a scumbag, at least on the surface, the other party is still willing to cooperate with Qin Daoxian and the others. Therefore, putting a sound transmission snail on them is not useless at all. After all, Wanxinghai is still a long way from the sects in the northwest of Xianyun continent. If Shenyangzong can immediately spread the news, it will have a very important reference value for the countermeasures Qin Daoxian will take next. Okay, I know you are keeping an eye on the movement of the Qingwei Dao faction in the Qianji Temple battle. I will go to retreat first. Do not worry. Concubine Qinxue said softly. On the side, Luoli saw that Qin Daoxian was going to retreat to improve his strength as soon as he came back, so he opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't say a word. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. In the secret room. Qin Daoxian sat on the futon, looking at the various treasures in front of him, and was fascinated for a while. These treasures he didn't dare to think about in the past, but now they are like ordinary spiritual stones, placed in front of him. This time, Qin Daoxian spent 10 million drops of fortune power in addition to purchasing 2 3-star Taoist soldiers, and the remaining nearly 5 million drops of fortune power were all used to buy various treasures and spirituality to enhance his strength. Among them, only purchasing spirituality, he spent 2 million drops of the power of creation. Qin Daoxian used the remaining 3 million drops of the power of creation to buy all kinds of treasures to enhance his strength. Tianhua Yulu Xingyuan Dan. And this, the Golden Crow fragment. In the secret room, various treasures flowed brilliantly. Among them, the most dazzling piece is this small Golden Crow fragment. Qin Daoxian did not expect that he could really buy Golden Crow fragments in Chuanbao Pavilion. He used to think that when he would free up his hands, he would definitely go to explore the remains of the true immortal in Liangjiyuan to find the traces of the Golden Crow fragments. After all, the Golden Crow fragment is directly related to the transformation of the Shenhuang realm, and it is related to his Dao realm, breaking through from the 2nd layer of the world realm to the 3rd layer of the world realm. During this period of time, Qin Daoxian was stuck in the great Dao realm for the first time. This was unimaginable in the past. Because in the past, his Dao realm could rely on the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic and the Star Sword Dao map to quickly improve. Until you encounter the levels from the 2nd to the 3rd layer of the world. Whether it was the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic or the Star Sword Dao map, it didn't work anymore, so he was stuck until now. Because according to the practice experience, the 2nd layer of the world realm to the 3rd layer of the world realm is not a change in the laws of the great Dao, but the slow transformation of the world, or in other words, the change of the sun star in the Shenhuang realm from virtual to real. This kind of change either relies on water to grind kung fu, and a little bit turns the illusory sun star in the world into a real sun star. The second method is a tricky method, which is to directly refine a Golden Crow fragment. In this way, the sun star of the Shenhuang realm becomes directly. When a world has a sun star, it will naturally have vitality. At this point, the monk can enter the realm of the 3rd layer of the world. Why is there a huge gap between the 3rd layer of the world and the 1st and 2nd layers of the world? It is because after entering the 3rd floor of the world, you can increase the world scope by swallowing a lot of the power of creation. As we all know, the bigger the world a monk opens up, the stronger the world power that can be borrowed, and the stronger the power naturally. Qin Daoxian's Dao realm is the 2nd floor of the world realm. But in fact, his Shenhuang realm is not large, and even compared with the ordinary 2nd-level real monarch of the world, his Shenhuang realm is far inferior. The reason for this is that when Qin Daoxian broke through to the 2nd floor of the world realm, his cultivation only reached the golden core stage. Therefore, sometimes the Dao realm leads the cultivation base too much, which is not necessarily a good thing. It can only show that the cultivator has great potential, but it does not mean that the cultivator gains more benefits. A normal nascent soul cultivator breaks through to the world realm, and its world scope is much larger than that of Qin Daoxian. Just like Fei Chengshu's world, Qin Daoxian had been to the other party's world, although the world opened up by Fei Chenxue was also barren. But its scope is much larger than Qin Daoxian's Shenhuang realm, with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. If Chen Daoxuan's Shenhuang realm wants to catch up, he can only break through the third layer of the world realm and devour a large amount of the power of creation. He is not lacking in the power of creation. The only thing he has to do now is to break through the third layer of the world. Think of this. Chen Daoxian no longer hesitated, put away other treasures, and set his eyes on this dazzling golden fragment. Although the golden crow fragment was shining brightly, Chen Daoxian saw a layer of bubble-like space film on its surface. He knew that this layer of space film was the space restriction imposed by Chuanbao Pavilion. If not, even if the golden crow shards in front of them are more than 1/1,000,000th of the original version, the heat released by them may not only melt the entire Shuanghu Island, but also the waters of thousands of miles around will be evaporated. It's inconvenient here, I'd better go to Shenhuang realm to talk about it. Say it. Without saying a word, Chen Daoxian directly tore open the black hole of the void, passed through the black hole, and stepped into the Shenhuang realm. Although the Shenhuang realm was opened up by Chen Daoxian for some time. But this world is barren, with neither vitality nor spiritual energy, and Chen Daoxian rarely comes here. Even if you want to build it, you have to wait until the third floor of the world, after the Shenhuang realm has given birth to life. Divine consciousness unscrupulously unfolded, and glanced at the envoy of the demon court who was suppressed at the very center of the Shenhuang realm. Chen Daoxian ignored the other party. I just found a spot and sat cross-legged in the air. Immediately afterwards he took out the golden crow fragment. The dazzling light penetrated through the space membrane and pierced Chen Daoxuan's eyes. He narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling that the illusory sun above his head was obscured by the golden crow fragments. The golden crow shards in the Chuanbao Pavilion have different prices according to the size of the shards. The golden crow fragment in Chen Daoxuan's hands is a relatively small piece at a price of 1.15 million drops of the power of creation. But refining it and lighting up the Shenhuang realm is perfect. Otherwise, the fragments of the golden crow are too large, and Chen Daoxian still doesn't know how to refine them. After all, his cultivation is too low, and he is not sure whether he can refine the golden crow fragments. So far, the only one who can reach the third floor of the world realm in the nascent soul stage is the one who guards the Liangjiuan teleportation array in the capital of Su Kingdom. Apart from him, Chen Daoxian has never seen a second person who can refine the golden crow fragments in the nascent soul stage. Even Chen Daoxian is not sure whether he can refine the golden crow fragments in the nascent soul stage. If not, he can only break through the primordial spirit stage first, and then consider refining the golden crow fragments. In fact, it doesn't matter whether it is the Yuanying stage refining the golden crow fragments or the Yuanshan stage refining the golden crow fragments, Chen Daoxian doesn't care. He has cultivated to today's realm. Where does he care about being invincible at the same level? The realm of the same level of the road is extremely high, and he is a person with a talent against the sky. What Chen Daoxian cares about is the improvement of strength, the deep foundation and the stable foundation. Only in this way can we move forward steadily on the difficult and bumpy road of seeking the way. Breaking through to the primordial spirit stage, I have no clue for the time being. I don't know how long I will be stuck with Zhu Rong's real body. Chen Daoxian shook his head. Comparatively speaking, it is more reliable to break through the third layer of the world. Although Chen Daoxian does not care about false names. But as the owner of the plug-in Hongmeng Enlightenment of Taoism, Chen Daoxian never thought that he would be weaker than the monks of the same level. In short, if others can do it, he can do it too. Calm your mind. Chen Daoxian stretched out his index finger and tapped on the space film of the golden crow fragment. As the space film was shattered by Chen Daoxian like an egg shell, 1,000 times, 10,000 times more dazzling light was released from the small golden crow fragments. What followed was terrifying heat. Lying X. Rarely, Chen Daoxian scolded the quintessence of his previous life. Qinyuan Jianzong has never had a cultivator refining the golden crow fragments, and Yun Shuzi did not specifically warn him when he sold the golden crow fragments to him. Chen Daoxian thought there was no danger in refining the golden crow fragments. But now, Chen Daoxian immediately wrapped his life spirit armor on his body. Not only that, he also directly called out the 3-star Taoist team to form a formation to resist the terrifying heat. Sure enough, as soon as the Samsung Taoist team made a move, the heat of the golden crow fragment was immediately isolated from the formation deployed by the Taoist team. But the next moment, Chen Daoxian discovered that the barren land of the Shenhuang realm had actually begun to gradually melt. If it goes on like this, won't the Shenhuang realm be burned through by this golden crow fragment? Chapter 456. Xianhuang World. In midair, the golden light group is extremely dazzling. In the vagueness, there is also a bird-shaped phantom that appears and disappears. Qin Daoxian recognized it at a glance. This phantom is the fallen golden crow. On the ground, the wild sand gradually melted, and the terrain continued to decrease. Qin Daoxian could feel that the entire Xianhuang world was crumbling. Careless, Qin Daoxian was annoyed. If the Xianhuang realm is destroyed, his path will be over. Just when he was anxious, the black flame pattern on his chest suddenly lit up, and then, a pure black fire of the devil flew out from his chest. Not only that, but the black fire of the devil actually revealed a hint of desire to Qin Daoxian. You mean you want to eat it? Qin Daoxian pointed at the golden crow shards raging in the air, said. This time, the desire of demon god's fire was even heavier. Compared with ordinary fire, spiritual fire has some of the most basic spiritual wisdom. As a kind of spiritual fire, his demon god's fire is no exception. But except this time, demon god's fire never revealed any emotion to Qin Daoxian, the master. But his golden crow shards are used to light up the Xianhuang realm and reproduce the vitality of the Xianhuang realm, not to be swallowed by the fire of the devil. But seeing the Xianhuang realm shaking more and more, Qin Daoxian couldn't care about refining the golden crow fragments. If you want to eat, let's eat it for you. Qin Daoxian waved his hand. As long as the current predicament can be resolved, the loss of a golden crow fragment is nothing at all. Although the golden crow fragment is extremely precious, it also depends on who you compare it to. With Qin Daoxian's financial resources, the golden crow shard's worth a mere 1.5 million drops of the power of creation he still does not care about, that is, the work of the Qingmuding factory for a while. The fire of the demon god got the approval of Qin Daoxian, and roared towards the golden crow fragment with joy. In the sky, a black light flashed. Immediately afterwards, the black light completely wrapped the golden crow shards. Soon, the rays of light from the golden crow fragments were all covered by the fire of the demon god. Not only that, but the fire of the devil is like a gangrene with bones, bit by bit eroding the golden crow shards. Hold head high dash, a high-pitched bird chirping sounded, and the surrounding space was distorted. See. Qin Daoxian mobilized the power of the entire Xianhuang world to repair the constantly broken space. This moment, the fighting fire of the devil and the golden crow shards turned the Xianhuang realm upside down. And Qin Daoxian wiped his for these too. But fortunately, it didn't take long for him to wipe his behind him. Because Qin Daoxian could feel that the birdsong was gradually becoming weaker. The fire of demon god seems to feel that the golden crow fragment is a rootless source. Unlike it, it is not only supported by Qin Daoxian's mana, but also blessed by the world power of the entire world of Xuanhuangji. As the two forces overlapped, the power of the demon god's fire became stronger and stronger. The stalemate was soon broken. Gradually, the high-pitched bird chirping subsided. Seeing this scene, Qin Daoxian's eyes lit up, and he became more energetic. He knew that the golden crow fragment could not escape the palm of demon god's fire. But even so, the entire swallowing process continued for 3 full days. 3 days later, with a hoarse chirping, the birdsong completely disappeared. It's done. Qin Daoxian immediately collapsed. A dignified true monarch nascent soul was completely drained of mana by a piece of golden crow. Not only that, but the entire Xianhuang realm has also become crumbling. Qin Daoxian knew that this was because the power of the world was too much and the origin of the world was hurt. Whoosh! The black light rushed towards Qin Daoxian at a speed that was dozens of times faster than before. Its speed was so fast that even Qin Daoxian's consciousness couldn't react, which made him feel a chill in his heart. Brush! The black fire of the devil was quietly suspended in front of Qin Daoxian. Seeing the fire of the devil that he cultivated with his own hands, Qin Daoxian relaxed his expression. The root of the fire of the devil is in him. No matter what, the other party will not hurt his master. This moment, Qin Daoxian finally breathed, and slowly looked at the pure black flame in front of him. With careful observation, Qin Daoxian finally found something different. This is Zile Tianhua? Qin Daoxian widened his eyes and exclaimed. Zile Tianhua, also known as Jiehua, the Jiehua here has nothing to do with Jindan Thunder Tribulation, but the tribulation fire of Tianzuan Thunder Tribulation. After a cultivator reaches the calamity transcending stage, he will experience a total of 9 thunder tribulations before and after. After all the 9 thunder tribulations are over, the cultivator can achieve the status of a true immortal and ascend to the upper realm. But these 9 thunder tribulations were more dangerous each time. In the ancient years, due to the complete rules of the Phoenix meteor world, it was able to withstand the power of many thunder tribulations for the monks, so the Mahayana true immortals were not uncommon. But as the real demon world devoured the Phoenix meteor world, the world consciousness of the Phoenix meteor world was completely weakened. Thinking of resisting the power of thunder tribulation on behalf of the tribulation cultivator, it seems a little powerless. This is also the reason why all the top forces are not stationed inside the Phoenix meteor realm. Because the Phoenix meteor realm has reached the most critical juncture, Du Jie Tianzuan stays in the Phoenix meteor realm again. Once thunder tribulation is attracted, it will cause further damage to the Phoenix meteor realm. Although a lightning calamity did not cause much damage to the Phoenix meteor realm, there were many tribulation cultivators in the Phoenix meteor realm. Everyone is staying here, and the Phoenix meteor realm can't bear the damage caused by these thunder tribulations. It will only speed up the world consciousness of the Phoenix meteor realm into chaos. At that time, the real demon world will swallow up the Phoenix meteor world, but it will be much faster. Therefore, there is no transcendence heavenly venerate in the Phoenix meteor realm. It's not that the tribulation cultivator doesn't want to stay here, it's that he can't stay here for the safety of Fengyun realm. When Qin Daoxian knew about this for the first time, he still had great admiration for the tribulation monks in Fengyun realm. At least, compared with the sects that were fighting each other in the Phoenix meteor realm, these transcending tribulation heavenly venerates who stood at the top of the Phoenix meteor realm had eyes and spirit that a low-level cultivator couldn't match. Certainly. In the absence of heavenly venerate Du Jie, it can be said that there are no tigers in the mountains and the monkeys are called kings. Countless sect forces and clan forces are fighting against each other, and countless mortals and ordinary loose cultivators have suffered from war and chaos, which can be said to be hard for the people. Just like this time. In order to control the various sects in the northwest, the Situ family knew that Tianzuan City had imposed a ban, but they still dared to secretly send their clansmen here to invade the major sections. On the one hand, the people of the Situ family are daring, but on the other hand, these top forces in the Fengyun world have very limited constraints on the various sects of the Fengyun world. Qin Daoxian gently held the pure black demon fire, looking at the center of the pure black demon fire, that little lavender and flashing thunder. Immediately excited, although the fire of the devil has not completely transformed into the purple thunder fire. But Qin Daoxian was sure that once he used the fire of the devil, even the third-level Taoist in the world would be burned to ashes in an instant. Before he knew it, the spirit fire secret technique obtained by cultivating Zhu Rong's true body actually became his first method of killing. I don't know if you can threaten the heavenly venerate transcendence when you completely transform into Zile Tianhua. Qin Daoxian muttered. He also didn't see the scene of transcending heaven smiting heavenly venerate, and he didn't know how big the threat from Lei Tianhua was to heaven smiting heavenly venerate. Certainly. Qin Daoxian picked up the sound transmission nut, and his face gradually sank when he heard the sound coming from inside. Qinyuan Sword Sect. Countless monks gather here. Among them, the two standing in the lead were Qin Daoxian and Fei Qinxue, who had become Taoist companions. Looking at the more and more disciples of the Qinyuan Sword Sect and the monks of the various immortal clans in Wangxinghai, Qin Daoxian's face was extremely heavy and he said, "In just 3 days the Qinji temple was destroyed?" Concubine Chengshi's pretty face tensed. The enemy is stronger than we thought, and they don't seem to plan to delay, but want to make a quick decision. Even the Yuanshan Daojun personally took action. It's really blatant. Originally, Qin Daoxian also felt that the 3 Yuanshan Daojins sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua would take into account the prohibition of Tianzuan City, and would only shoot secretly, not dare to do it openly. But it turned out that the monk from the Situ family and the Taoists sent by Xiao Yuhua were more courageous than Qin Daoxian imagined. Dare to go directly to the field. As a result, the Qinji temple naturally couldn't withstand the attack of the 3 Yuanshan Daojun, and the sect was broken like a broken bamboo, which is a reasonable thing. Hey, no one would have thought that the Qingwei Taoist faction would actually bypass the major immortal cities in the Qinji temple and head towards the gate of the Qinji temple. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian was even more angry. Where's Xianyang sect, haven't they heard any news? Qin Daoxian was so angry because the Qinji temple was destroyed, and he had to abide by his promise to destroy the Situ family and Wuji Xianmen. Destroying the Situ family is nothing. Qin Daoxian was confident that it would not be long before he could do this. But Wuji Immortal Sect is different. As the first force in Phoenix Meteor Realm, Wuji Immortal Sect is not only powerful in itself, but also has extraordinary significance for the top forces in Liangjiyuan. In other words, the top forces of Liangjiyuan need to rely on Wuji Xianmen to maintain their influence on Fengyun realm. Of course, there must be more than just Wuji Xianmen selected by these top forces, but Wuji Xianmen is undoubtedly the one with the strongest strength and influence. If Qin Daoxian wants to destroy Wuji Xianmen in the future, in addition to facing the powerful Wuji Xianmen itself, he may also face the forces behind Wuji Xianmen. Qin Daoxian can hardly imagine how powerful this force is to be the backer of Wuji Xianmen. This is also the reason why Fei Qinxue firmly disagreed with his vow of the Great Tao before. Fei Qinxue could feel Qin Daoxian's anger. She shook her head gently. Zhuanyingzong did not send us any news. In fact, the Qingwei Taoist army rushed to the Qinji temple, and it took more than 2 days on the way. They broke through the gate of the Thousand Machines Hall, and they didn't even get there for a day. 1 day. No wonder we received the news soon, and before we had time to gather our people, the Hall of Thousand Machines was destroyed. Xian Yangzong did not pass the news to Qin Daoxian and the others. To a certain extent, it has already indicated that the other party has completely fallen to the Qingwei Taoism, or that it has completely fallen to the Sidu family. Xian Yangzong. Qin Daoxian's eyes were gloomy. Qinlang, what should we do now? Hearing this, Qin Daoxian glanced at the army of monks that was still gathering, shook his head and said, I can't wait any longer. I'm going to bring some of them to support first, and you will organize the army here for backup. Hearing that Qin Daoxian was going to leave himself and go alone, Fei Qinxue was reluctant and shook her head. You can't leave me. Saying that, he glared at him. Qin Daoxian stroked her pretty face and said, Don't worry, you'll be fine. With that said, Qin Daoxian took out an ink-black Tibetan soldier jade card. Look, I still have a 3-star Taoist team in my hand. Fei Qinxue knew the strength of the Samsung Taoist team, so she felt relieved. After thinking for a while, she took out another Tibetan soldier jade card from the storage ring and said, This 3-star Taoist soldier team is also given to you. By the way, there is also this one. I will also give it to you. With that said, Fei Qinxue took off the bronze bracelet that Qin Daoxian had given him, and handed it to Qin Daoxian. Chapter 457. Seeing that Fei Qinxue had even handed over the 1-star Taoist team he had given to the opponent for self-defense, Qin Daoxian took her into his arms. Don't worry, nothing will happen, a 3-star Taoist team is enough. He paused. Besides, we still have a space teleportation array and a sun-mother sound transmission. You and I can support each other at any time. The 3-star Taoist team and the 1-star Taoist team in Fei Qingshue's hands, he planned to give them to each other. The Qingwei Taoist faction seemed to be doing all they could to attack the northwestern sects, but no one could guarantee that they would send people to Wanxinghai to attack. After all, if the 3 Yuanshan Daijins sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua wanted to bypass the northwestern sects and attack the Qinyuan sword sect, there would be no problem. Qin Daoxian had to guard against this. Aside, Qin Zhan looked at Qin Daoxian and his senior sister hugging each other, and turned his head to one side unconsciously. A long time. Fei Qinxue only let go of Qin Daoxian. She raised her head. I will ask Qin Zhan to accompany you. Qin Zhan is more skilled in mobilizing the disciples of Qinyuan sword sect. I am also relieved to send him to fight for you. Cough cough, senior sister, your heart is too strong. Qin Zhan said with a bitter face. All right, I'm really not familiar with the disciples of Qinyuan sword sect, so let Qin Zhan accompany me. With that said, Qin Daoxian turned to look at Qin Zhan and asked, Are you okay? It is good. Qin Zhan nodded. He also knew that his senior sister was right, that Qin Daoxian and Fei Qinxue had just become Taoist companions, and the integration of the Qin family and Qinyuan Jianzong had not yet begun, so the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua sent people to attack. It can be said that the enemy came too fast, and did not give the Qin family and Qinyuan Jianzong much time to react. But that's how war is. No one can predict when it will come. The only thing everyone can do is to try their best to improve their own strength. Compared with the threat of the Situ family, the real demon world is the biggest enemy of everyone. It is said that the sky is falling and there are tall people on it, but anyone with a discerning eye can see that the tall people in the Phoenix meteor realm are getting more and more powerless. This can be seen from the unscrupulous attitude of the Situ family. If Tianzuan City can make a move, the Situ family would never dare to be so arrogant, openly disobeying the prohibition of Tianzuan City, and taking action against the northwestern sections. Since that's the case, sooner rather than later, let's go. It is good. Concubine Qinxue is also a resolute person. After she has made her decision, she will no longer act like a young daughter. Qin Lang goes first and the concubine will support later. Qin Daoxian nodded, then looked at Qin Zhan and said, "Let's go. Sister, let's go first." Say it. Qin Daoxian and Qin Zhan flew into the teleportation formation and disappeared instantly. Seeing the two people closest to her leave, Fei Chengshi's heart clenched. Hall of Thousand Machines. At this moment, the Thousand Machines Hall is in ruins. Not only was the Guardian formation broken, but the entire sect was in ruins. Countless palaces were smashed and burned, and puppets of various forms were destroyed into wrecks. Spirit Field, Spirit Medicine Garden, Treasure Room. Each and every sect important place was either robbed or burned down. Occasionally, sporadic battles broke out in the sect, which was the remaining resistance force of the Thousand Machines Hall. However, these residual strengths cannot last long. High in the air, the three primordial spirit Taoists stood in the sky, looking at the miserable scene under their feet. Looking at the ruins below, one of the primordial spirit cultivators smiled and said, "Brother Wu, when you're done packing, let's go to the next place. Let's strive to convert the territories of the northwestern sects and the immortals of the Qinyuan sword sect within a month. Get the device. I'm here to thank Patriarch Situ on behalf of the young master." Wu Ho bowed his hands to the two primordial spirit Taoists of the Situ family. "You are welcome." The Situ family's Yuanshin Daojun smiled and said, "As long as Xiao Daoyu remembers to go to Liangjiuan in the future, don't forget to promise the ancestors' promise." "Don't worry, fellow Taoist, my young master will never dare to forget." "That's good." The two laughed even more happily. Boom. The two were laughing when suddenly, a terrifying energy wave erupted under their feet. What happened? Wu Hao's consciousness swept away, found the Shenyang sect master on the front line and questioned. Hearing the words, the sect master of Shenyang sect quickly teleported to Wu Hao's side, and said respectfully, "Senior, it's a puppet. There is also a group of sixth-order puppets hidden in the Qinji Hall. We just couldn't bear the loss." Trash. Wu Ho angrily scolded, "Even the sect master of Qinji Temple is dead, and you still can't get a small remaining true monarch. What's the use of me asking you?" Saying that, he will kill the sect master of Shenyang sect with one palm. Seeing this scene, the sect master of Shenyang sect was so frightened that he immediately knelt down to Marquis Wu and said loudly, "Senior, spare your life, senior, spare your life." "Brother Wu, wait." Seeing this, the two Daijins of the Situ family quickly stopped Wu Ho. "It's just me waiting for another job. If you kill him, who will take care of the various resources here in the future for my Situ family?" Yes, the juniors are still useful and useful. At this moment, the sect master of Shenyang sect has no more face, and only wants to survive. Seeing his appearance, the eyes of the three Daijins flashed a hint of disgust. A Taoist from the Situ family waved his hand and said, "Go away." "Yes, thank you, Daojun." The sect master of Shenyang sect immediately disappeared without looking back. "Brother Wu, why should you be angry?" Another Yuanshin Daojun from the Situ family comforted. "Speaking of which, the sect master of the Shenyang sect is also surnamed Wu, and the two of you still have the same surname. In ancient times, maybe they belonged to the same clan." Humph. Wu Hao's face suddenly became a little unpleasant. He also deserves the surname Wu. Ha ha ha. Both of the Situ family laughed. "Okay, Brother Wu, no kidding, I'm going to get rid of these small trash fish. After this campaign is over, there are still a few others waiting for us to clean up." After that, a primordial spirit Taoist from the Situ family raised his palm. In the sky, a giant palm pressed down towards the earth, as if the sky was going to be pierced by this blow. If Chen Daoxian was present, he would have easily recognized that this blow was just the most common low-level technique, called cloud manipulation. But in the palm of the Situ family's Yuanshin Daojun, the extremely ordinary cloud manipulation technique was used by him to suppress the world. The reason is that the palm of the sky condensed by the clouds is infused with the power of the terrifying world. Not only that, its appearance is also constrained by the primordial spirit Daojun with several laws. Let it be able to withstand the power of this terrifying world. After the opponent's magical change, in fact, this technique can no longer be called cloud manipulation. But in the primordial spirit stage, when you cast spells, you can do whatever you want. Especially in the case of realm crushing, you can fight as you want, and you don't even need to use magic weapons. Under this terrible attack, the sect of the Thousand Machines Hall was wiped out by a third of the area. You must know that as a sect that has been based on the northwest frontier for more than 100,000 years, the sect of Qinji Hall is larger than the land area of some countries in Qin Daoxuan's previous life. Even so, one-third of the area was destroyed by a blow from the Situ family's Yuanshin Daojun. Speaking of which, the power of this Yuanshan Daijin's casual strike surpassed Qin Zhan's use of the Emperor Yes Bell, which was terrifying. Under this blow, whether it was the true monarch Yuan Ying of the Qingwei Taoist faction, or the true monarch of the Qinji Temple who was stubbornly resisting, all of them died and there was not a single one left. The remaining true monarch Yuan Ying of the Qingwei Taoist sect was shocked and angry when they saw this scene. But they just dare not speak out. After all, no one is not afraid of death. The Situ family Taoist frowned slightly. This is. Below, the Sixth Order worm puppets were not completely destroyed by such a terrifying blow, and they wanted to struggle to stand up. However, they eventually fell down and failed to stand up. This puppet. Interesting. The Yuanshan Daojun of the Situ family moved in his heart, and calmly put all the insect puppets below into the storage ring. When Wu Ho saw this scene, he didn't say anything. There were only a few puppets and they were not Taoist soldiers, so they were not worth mentioning. Tianyanzong. This was the first time Qin Daoxian came to the mountain gate of Tianyanzong. The last time he borrowed the way, he only stayed in Thousand Array City for a while. As soon as they walked out of the teleportation formation, the Valley Master of Spirit Insect Valley and the Sect Master of Tianyan Sect greeted him. Qin Jinjuan. Qin Palace Master. When the two saw Qin Daoxian, they bowed to Qin Daoxian. At this critical moment, Qin Daoxian can still bring people to help, which shows his sincerity. Sect Master Zhou, Master Meigu. Qin Daoxian also bowed to the two of them. Looking around, the disciples of Spirit Insect Valley and Tianyanzong, all wearing armor and holding swords, shuttled through Tianyanzong's sect. Tianyanzong's guardian formation was opened around the clock from the moment the Qinji Temple's sect was broken, and he did not dare to relax for a moment. But Spirit Insect Valley and Tianyanzong are two sects after all, and their disciples have never practiced the art of combined strikes. Therefore there was chaos in the Tianyanzong sect, and the atmosphere was extremely depressing. Even due to the arrival of Qin Daoxian, a large number of Wanxinghai cultivators were brought in, causing the interior of Tianyanzong to be even more chaotic. Fortunately, there were quite a few high-level cultivators in each sect, and under their strong suppression, there was finally no trouble. In fact, whether it is the two sect masters or Qin Daoxian, they all know that the key to this battle is not these low-level disciples, but the high-level monks. Even true monarch Yuan Ying could not play a decisive role. The fiasco of Qinji Temple was just around the corner, and the two had to admit that in the face of Yuanshan Daijin's attack, there was only Yuan Ying Jinjuan in the sect, and he was really vulnerable. As for the treasures at the bottom of the box, in the face of the absolute strength gap, it seems so ridiculous. At this moment, whether it is the sect master of Tianyanzong or the valley master of Spirit Insect Valley, they all put their hopes on Qin Daoxian. Because only Qin Daoxian once had the fighting power to kill Yuanshan Daojun. There is no doubt that Qin Daoxian's strength is definitely at the level of Yuanshan Daojun. Although there are 3 Yuanshan Daijins on the enemy side and only Qin Daoxian on their side, but the matter has come to this point, they can't manage that much at all, and they can only gamble at the end. Up to now, with the overbearing power of the Situ family, even if Tianyanzong and Lingwagu surrendered, the other party would not accept it. This can be seen from the tragic state of the Thousand Machines Hall. Even if the Situ family wants to smash the backbone of various resistances in the northwest, so as to lay the foundation for their subsequent rule. Otherwise, once these remnants of resistance remain, resistance forces like Zhongzhou Sini religion will inevitably emerge in the northwest frontier. The Situ family sees this very clearly. Since they want to seize the territory of the northwest frontier, they must completely sweep away the obstacles in this territory. This is the way of the big clan. Compared with the Qin family, the Situ family's behavior is undoubtedly much more domineering. Of course, this domineering style of behavior must have something to do with the ruler of the Situ family. The next few days, the Tianyanzong sect master took Qin Daoxian and the Spirit Insect Valley master to visit the Tianyanzong defense formation and various large-scale defenses. However, apart from Qin Daoxian, whether it is the owner of the Spirit Insect Valley or Qin Zhan, they are all lacking in these interests. They knew in their hearts that these things were still of some use to the Yuanying true monarchs of the Qingwei Dao faction, but they were useless to the 3 Yuanshan Daijins. You can see the impatience on the two faces. Qin Daoxian comforted, Master Meigu, Sect Master Zhou, you two can rest assured, the 3 Yuanshan Daijins of the Qingwei Daoist sect will be handed over to the next. Hear this promise. Meigu Master and Tianyanzong Sect Master looked at each other, and their hearts were ecstatic. These few days what they want to hear most is undoubtedly this sentence. Now Qin Daoxian finally made a promise to the two. However, the two knew clearly that Qin Daoxian could not pay blindly, they would definitely have to pay the price. After all, it was Qinyuan Jianzong guarding the sect for them. Qin Jinjuan has any requirements, you may wish to say it bluntly. Up to now, the sect master of Tianyanzong no longer hides his words and speaks directly. Qin Daoxian nodded. I do have some requirements, he paused. The two of you have also seen today's situation. Our northwestern sects, including my Wan Xinghai, are all located in remote areas and relatively scarce in resources, and no primordial spirit Taoist has been born. Precisely because there are no primordial spirit cultivators, a few Daijins from Zhongzhou can easily handle us. Right now, the real demon world is staring at them, and Tianzuan City has been overwhelmed in order to resist the invasion of the real demon realm. This is why the Situ family dares to invade our northwestern sects so blatantly. Hearing this, everyone was filled with indignation. Their northwestern sects have been here for tens of thousands of years, and even if they are a little dirty with each other, they have never provoked outside forces. In addition, the resources in the northwest frontier are indeed scarce, and outside forces have no plans to invade here. But the outside world doesn't invade just because they don't want to invade doesn't mean they will never invade. This time, the blatant invasion of the Situ family completely awakened all the sects in the northwest. However, in order to clearly realize this, the Hall of Thousand Machines has been completely destroyed. The relationship between Spirit Insect Valley and Qinji Temple has always been good. Now that Qinji Temple has been destroyed, Spirit Insect Valley is the most frightened. Master Megu stood up and said bluntly, "What does the true monarch have to say? But please tell me." Aside, the Tianyanzong sect master moved his mouth, sighed, and finally fell silent. It is good. Qin Daoxian nodded. Then I'll just say it straight. He looked around the crowd. If we can survive this calamity safely, I hope that all the sects, including my Qin family, can unite completely to form a new force. This? The Valley Master of Spirit Insect Valley and the sect master of Tianyanzong looked at each other. Qin Daoxian smiled and looked at the two of them without urging them. Chapter 458, A Long Time. The sect master of Tianyanzong finally lowered his head. Now the situation of the various sects in the northwest, fighting alone, is really unable to compete with the first-class sections. On behalf of Tianyanzong, I agree with Qin Zhenjin's proposal. I agree. The Valley Master of Spirit Insect Valley also nodded. Now the Northwest sect, the Qinji Temple has been destroyed, the Qingwei Taoist sect and the Shenyang sect have also all stood on the side of the Situ family, leaving only the three families of the Spirit Insect Valley, the Tianyin sect and the Qinyuan Sword sect. After this battle, even if Qin Daoxian and the others won, the sects in the Northwest would suffer greatly, not to mention the first-rate sects in the outside world. Therefore it seems that it is also a good choice for everyone to join together to warm up. Seeing that both of them agreed with his proposal, Qin Daoxian was in a good mood. To tell the truth, with the strength of the Qin family and Qinyuan Jianzong, after defeating the Qingwei Taoist faction, it is not impossible to conquer Lingwagu and Tianyanzong by force. But in that case, the strength of the cultivation world in the northwest will inevitably regress to a terrible situation. This was not what Qin Daoxian wanted to see. He also counted on, relying on the existing background of the northwest cultivation world, to establish an unprecedented industrial immortal cultivation force. Just as he was about to say something, the Sun Mother sound transmission conch in the storage ring moved for a while, and Qin Daoxian calmly took it out of the storage ring. Immediately, a voice came from the sound transmission snail. I am Wu Ho, a disciple of Wu Jixianmen. I know the situation. I should quickly open the Guardian formation and surrender. Otherwise in a day's time I will wash the Tianyanzong with blood. The sound was very harsh and it sounded extremely uncomfortable. Are you Xiao Yua's lackey? Who are you? Qin Daoxian sneered. A few days ago one of Xiao Yua's dogs died in my hands. I didn't expect him to send another dog today, and it's still an old dog. It seems that your master is now too poor. Hearing this, Wu Ho narrowed his eyes slightly. So, you killed Xianyi, what's your name? Dead, don't deserve to know my name. Boy, later, I will look at your mouth, can you still be as tough as you are now? Say it. Wu Ho took the initiative to disconnect the Sun Mother sound transmission snail. Aside. Everyone looked at Qin Daoxian with admiration. No matter what, the person Qin Daoxian was talking to was a Taoist primordial spirit. He actually dared to insult the other party without changing his face. It can be seen that Qin Daoxian is really not afraid of Yuan Shin Daojun. Why are you looking at me like that? Qin Daoxian looked at everyone helplessly. Am I being polite to him? Will the other party not invade us? That said, but Qin Zhenjin's courage the old man admires very much. The sect master of Tianyinzong shook his head. Qin Zhan was more direct and said with a thumbs up, brother-in-law is mighty. Qin Daoxian ignored him and was about to speak to the sect master of Tianyinzong. Suddenly, a burst of light flickered on Tianyinzong's teleportation formation. Qin Daoxian waved his hand, and everyone teleported towards the teleportation array. As the light on the teleportation array went out, the base of the teleportation array was already filled with cultivators from Wanxinghai. Some of these cultivators were from the Qianyuan sword sect, some from the cultivators of Wanxinghai, and some simply were Wanxinghai's loose cultivation. This scene can be regarded as unique in Tianyinzong. This time, Tianyinzong was guarding the mountain gate, posing a posture of decisive battle with the Qingwei Taoist faction. But the real defenders in Tianyinzong are only the direct disciples of Tianyinzong and Spirit Insect Valley. As for the immortal clan attached to the two sects, seeing this situation, they all chose to wait and see. As for the loose repair, it is even more irrelevant to hanging up high. For loose cultivators, no matter who leads this land, it has little to do with them. Anyway, the loose cultivator does not have any cultivation resources, who should be the emperor and not be. However, the monks in Wanxinghai are obviously very different. Not only did the Xiuxin family send a large number of monks to support them, but also the number of loose cultivators who came to support them. When Sect Master Yenzong saw hundreds of true cultivators, he was almost stunned. He did not expect that Qianyuan Jianzong could dispatch so many Yuanying monks. In terms of the number of nascent soul true monarchs, Wanxinghai's family is several times more than his Tianyinzong and Lingwugus combined. Thinking of this, the sect master of Tianyinzong couldn't help but glance at the valley master of Spirit Insect Valley. Fear. This is the only feeling in their hearts at the moment. If it wasn't for the fact that the Qingwei Taoist sect had introduced the Situ family as a foreign aid, it would have caused a dimensionality reduction attack on the northwestern sections. The strongest sect in the northwestern sects would definitely be the Qianyuan sword sect. Counting down, Qianyuan Jianzong not only has Qin Daoxian, concubine Qinxue Qin Zhan, but also has more than 10 top real monarchs. In addition, Qianyuan Jianzong has the most. It is the true monarch of loose cultivation. Although it seems that the cultivation base and strength of these scattered cultivators are not outstanding at the moment, but as time goes by, among these scattered cultivators, sooner or later, a large number of top-level true monarchs and even world-level true monarchs will be born. This point, Tianyinzong sect master does not doubt at all. At this moment, the two of them couldn't help but feel a little fortunate. They were fortunate to have agreed to Qin Daoxuan's request to form an alliance just now. Otherwise, who can guarantee that after repelling the Situ family, Qin Daoxian will continue to invade them? Qin Lang. Among the crowd, Fei Qinxue stood at the forefront. Seeing Qin Daoxian, concubine Qin Shui flew towards him with a flash of light. Qin Daoxian looked at the beautiful woman in front of him and nodded slightly to her. Fei Qinxue knew that this was not the time to talk in detail, so after the sect master Chaotian Yenzong and the Spirit Insect Valley master saw the ceremony, he said to everyone, "Everyone, this time I, the Wanxinghai cultivator, are all dispatched to support the Tianyin sect. In this battle, we will definitely be able to crush the traitor of the Qingwei Daoist faction." The sect master of Tianyinzong immediately bowed his hands and thanked. The sect master of the imperial concubine is righteous. Sect master concubine said it well. As the second female cultivator present, the valley master of Spirit Insect Valley had a pretty face full of frost. Obviously, this time the Qingwei Daoist sect led foreign enemies to invade the northwestern sects, and the Spirit Insect Valley hated them. Tens of thousands of years. Although there are contradictions among the northwestern sects, they are only internal contradictions. Like the Qingwei Taoist sect, who would rather betray their own sect and go to the northwest to die, will naturally be hated by others. Because this kind of behavior is typical of harming others and not oneself. Qin Daoxian and the others do not believe that the Qingwei Taoist faction will become the true ruler of the northwestern border after defeating the northwestern sections. It is foreseeable that once the Qingwei Taoist faction wins, the final situation will only be reduced to the lackeys of the Situ family, not even vassals. In the future, they are the coolies of the Situ family planting spiritual fields and digging spiritual mines in the northwest border. Some greetings down. Qin Daoxian finally had a chance to be alone with concubine Qinxue. "Why are you here? Didn't I let you sit in Wanxinghai? The two of us are separated, don't we give the enemy a chance to defeat them one by one?" Fei Qinxue asked back. Qin Daoxian was speechless for a moment. All he thought was that he didn't want Fei Qinxue to take risks here. It was said that he had enough confidence that he could defeat the 3 Yuanshan Daijins sent by the Situ family and Xiao Yuhua with the Dao soldiers in his hand, but it was difficult to say whether or not they had trump cards for opponents of this level. Especially the Situ family. Ancestor Situ, as a Taoist on the 5th floor of the world, has unfathomable strength, and it is impossible for the other party to not have the treasure at the bottom of the box. What if this time he bestowed the treasure to the 2 Yuanshan Daijins who came to the Northwest land? A 3-star Taoist team can theoretically deal with 3 Taoist monarchs who have not practiced the combination of formations and strikes. But I am afraid that they have unknown trump cards. Qin Daoxian has been practicing so far, and he has defeated the strong countless times. Isn't it just relying on his own cards to continue to win? He can have a trump card, why can't other monks have it? This was also the biggest reason why Qin Daoxian didn't want his concubine Qin Shui to accompany him on the adventure. If these 3 Yuanshan Daijins have no trump cards, the 3-star Taoist squad he prepared is more than enough to deal with them. But if the opponent has a whole card, even with the 3-star Taoist team in Fei Qingshu's hands, it will be difficult to reverse the situation. Qin Daoxian didn't want to gamble. He has even done a good job. If he loses, he will let the Sanxing Taoist team break, and he will follow Yi Tianqi and flee from the endless void to the 2 realms from the Shenhuang realm. Although this trip is a life-and-death experience, it's better than a life-and-death experience. It was because of the retreat that Qin Daoxian dared to lead someone to help Tianyinzong. But now that Fei Qinxue has also rushed over and fled to Liangjiyuan with her, the danger has increased exponentially. However, when he saw Fei Qingshu's firm eyes, he couldn't say any more words of reproach. You are right, this battle can only be won, not lost. Concubine Qinxue took a step forward, her small hand clasped Qin Daoxian's large palm, her eyes met, and everything was silent. Boom. 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 Just as the two were talking, 9 bells rang through the entire Tianyinzong. Enemy attack. The sect master of Tianyinzong flew into the sky and roared loudly. With this loud roar, the other party obviously mustered up his mana, and Qin Daoxian only felt a thunder blast in his ear. The other cultivators were all shocked, and they all looked at the sect master of Tianyinzong in the sky, and the instruments in their hands couldn't help but tighten. Under the spirit armor covering the whole body, almost all the monks were sweating nervously. Although the news of the destruction of the Qinji temple has not yet spread among the ordinary disciples, everyone is not a fool. What kind of opponent is worthy of the 3 sects of Tianyinzong, Lingwagu and Qinyuan Jianzong to unite and still stand by the mountain? This proves that the invading enemy is far more powerful than the 3 major sections see. Qin Daoxian also flew high into the sky. His consciousness swept out of the Tianyinzong protector's array, and immediately the 3 primordial spirit Daijins were shrouded in his consciousness. Just then he heard a cold hum. His divine consciousness suddenly fled back into the sea of consciousness. Not only that, but the remaining power of this blow also invaded Qin Daoxian's sea of consciousness along with the divine consciousness. Divine consciousness attack. But fortunately, Qin Daoxian's sea of knowledge has golden scriptures sitting on the throne, and it is infallible. This divine consciousness attack just broke into Qin Daoxian's sea of consciousness, and it suddenly disappeared like a mud bowl into the sea. Brother Wu, what's wrong? A primordial spirit Dao Jun from the Situ family wondered. Someone spying on me with divine sense just now, and I counterattacked. Wu Ho shook his head. Haha, in this small northwestern borderland, there are people who dare to use their spiritual sense to spy on Brother Wu? Really don't know whether to live or die. Hearing this, Marquis Wu smiled in agreement, but quickly suppressed the smile. Because he knew that he didn't take advantage of the contact just now. The divine consciousness attack he unleashed was not slow, but it didn't seem to have any results. Thinking of this, Marquis Wu looked in the direction of Tianyinzong through the formation, and said, You two, who will take the shot first this time? Let me do it. Among the 2 primordial spirit Dao monarchs of the Situ family, a burly cultivator stood up and said. On the other hand, the other one who was thin, performed cloud manipulation in the Qinji temple, and wiped out the remaining power of the Qinji temple with one blow, did not compete with the opponent. It can be seen that the 2 Situ families Yuanshan Daojun will be headed by the emaciated one. Tianyinzong. The 6th Order Guardian Sect Grand Formation light curtain shrouded all the spiritual veins of Tianyinzong. Outside the array light curtain, the muzzles of the large warships are facing the Tianyinzong sect. It looked like a slaughter scene. At this moment, whether it is the defending side or the attacking side, they all hold their breaths and stare at each other silently. A decisive battle of this scale will only happen once in tens of thousands of years for the northwestern sections. Even if the Xianqing Dao League took the opportunity to invade the Qianyuan sword sect, there was no such a big battle. Brother Situ, please? Wu Ho bowed his hands towards the sturdy Situ family Taoist. Look at me. The sturdy Dao Jun nodded, his body seemed to have no gravity, and he slammed into the ground. Boom. The mountain shook for a while. A pit with a diameter of several meters appeared on the ground, and in the pit, a sturdy Taoist stood with his hands behind his back. So, his body swelled violently. 10 feet, 100 feet, thousands of feet. His stature has been expanding 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet. In the end, the figure of the Dao Jun of the Situ family stabilized at a height of 3,000 feet and stopped. Fa heaven and earth. In the Protector's great array, the sect master Tianyanzong looked at the giant standing in the sky and was stunned. Almost every high-level cultivator can cultivate the supernatural power of Fa Tianxiang and earth, but they have never heard of anyone who can cultivate to this level. Qin Daoxian was not surprised. He had seen even more terrifying Dharma images in the true immortal origin realm. Compared with the giant axe, the Dharma image of this Taoist monarch in front of him is nothing more than a child's thing, not worth mentioning. Qin Daoxian knew that after the cultivator reached the world realm, he could infuse the power of the world into the Dharma image, so that the Dharma image would skyrocket and exert more terrifying power. This is also one of Yuanshan Daijin's main attack methods. Compared with low-level monks, monks will pay more attention to melee combat after breaking through to the primordial spirit stage. The reason is that the magical power of Fa Tianxiang and earth can perfectly carry the power of the world that the monks have opened up. Previously, the Tianjiao of the Jianghu family in the two realms fought against Qin Daoxian, and he also used the magical powers of the heavens and the earth. It can be seen from this that the supernatural power of Fa Tianxiang and earth is very common among primordial spirit cultivators. Humph! 2 white columns of air were ejected from the giant's nostrils and bombarded the formation light curtain. Just 2 breaths made the 6th order array light curtain flicker. You group of ants, are you hoping to block me with this method of breaking the formation? The giant roared, break it for me. With that said, the giant punched the formation light curtain. Chapter 460. Yeah, Qin Jinjuan, if you refuse, who else in this room can take on this important task? What the Taoist said is very true. In the main hall, echoing voices came one after another. See. Qin Daoxian nodded. In this case, Qin is disrespectful today and should be the leader of the alliance. Compared with the 3 words and 3 surrenders of the mortal imperial power, there are not so many twists and turns among the monks. In many cases, monks are often the most convincing. Qin Daoxian's strength is the strongest, and when he comes to serve as the leader of the alliance, no one will refuse. In addition, the Qin family and the Qianyuan sword sect behind him are also the most powerful among the sects in the northwest. It is more suitable for him to be the leader of the alliance. Fei Qinshua sat beside Qin Daoxian, looking at the highly anticipated Ai Lang. The love in her eyes lingered. Inside the hall, all the monks stood up from their seats, saluted Qin Daoxian respectfully, and sang harmoniously, "Ill wait, see the leader." Say it. All bowed their heads. Looking at the top cultivator in the northwest who lowered his eyebrows and bowed his head in front of him, Qin Daoxian was instantly filled with pride. Today the Qin family has finally grown from a small island family to the absolute hegemon in the northwest of Xianyun continent. In terms of territory, it is no less than the Situ family in the land of Zhongzhou. You don't have to be too polite. Qin Daoxian gave some help and said, "Thank you, allies." Only then did Zhongxiu straighten his body and look at Qin Daoxian with bright eyes. Indulge for a moment. Qin Daoxian hit the railroad while it was hot. Since our sects form an alliance today, from today onwards, our Northern Immortal Alliance will trade currencies in a unified way. We all know that among the cultivators, the currencies used are very complicated. The mainstream currencies are spirit stones, and some people even use spirit pills and magic weapons as transaction currencies. As for high-level monks, the power of creation is used as a transaction currency. So I was thinking that since we have formed an alliance, at least within my Northern Immortal Alliance, there should be a currency. Boom. This sentence immediately completely detonated the hall. Changing the transaction currency is no small matter. Once this is done, the so-called Northern Immortal Alliance will no longer be a simple alliance organization, but an inseparable power group, and its closeness is even stronger than that of the sect. But the unified transaction currency involves the fundamental interests of everyone present, so no one is willing to speak for a while. Seeing that, the first policy Qin Daoxian implemented after he became the leader of the alliance was about to be blocked. Concubine Qinshue stood up again and said, I, Qinyuan Jianzong, are willing to use the new unified currency. Heard. The sect master of Tianyinzong and the valley master of Spirit Insect Valley looked at each other, and they also stood up and said, I, Tianyinzong, would also like to use the new currency. Seeing that both Tianyinzong and the head of Lingwagu were willing to use the new currency, Qin Daoxian finally let go of his dangling heart. Previously he only promoted spirit stone coins in the sphere of influence of Qinyuan Jianzong, because with the strong support of Qinyuan Jianzong, the effect was not bad. Nowadays, Tianyinzong and Spirit Insect Valley are also willing to use spirit stone coins, which means that spirit stone coins have become the only currency in the Northwest, and there is no obstacle. The Qin family's spirit stone coins have been issued for so many years, and they have achieved the ultimate in both experience and anti-counterfeiting. Even if Yuan Ing Jinjuan came in person, it would be difficult to forge it. Even if there is a true monarch of Yuan Ing who has abolished the power of 9 bulls and 2 tigers and succeeded in forging the spirit stone coins, it does not have the capacity for large-scale industrial production. The value of the counterfeit spirit stone coins produced by the other party is not as much as what he earns from refining the power of creation. As the so-called beheading business is done by some people, the loss-making business is not done by anyone. As long as the method of industrialized production of spirit stone coins is not leaked out, Qin Daoxian is not worried about the proliferation of counterfeit coins at all. Moreover, the Qin family has been cracking down on counterfeit currency cases for so many years, with remarkable results. As long as this experience is extended to the entire northwestern region, it is only a matter of time before I believe that it is only a matter of time before the spirit stone coins and the power of fortune are replaced by mixed currencies. Of course, Qin Daoxian also knew that these cultivators present agreed to promote the spirit stone coins, but in the actual promotion process, many of them will inevitably go against the grain. Regarding this issue, Qin Daoxian decided to use hard power to forcibly implement the spirit stone coins. All currencies such as spirit stones in the northwest are replaced by spirit stone coins. It means that Qin Daoxian can take all the spirit stone mines in the northwest under his control at the least cost. And there is Aoki Ding factory. As long as there are enough spirit stones, he can continuously extract the power of good fortune. At that time, both his personal strength and the forces under his command will expand wildly at an unimaginable speed. Therefore, it is imperative to implement the spirit stone coin. The Tianyinzong and the monks in the Spirit Insect Valley who are present will be crushed to pieces by him, no matter who dares to block him. On this point, Qin Daoxian was unshakable. Tianyinzong. Respectfully send Wan Xinghai cultivator to leave collectively. The sect master of Tianyinzong sighed to the Megu master beside him. This battle, the old man really doesn't know whether to lose or gain. Saying that, he shook his head. It is said that this battle repelled the Situ family, but ushered in an equally domineering Qin Daoxian. The valley master of Spirit Insect Valley understood the meaning of the other party's words and thought for a while. Why did sect master Zhou say this? No matter how strong the leader of the alliance is, he is still better than the thieves of the Situ family. Don't forget how they treat Chen Qian. Machine Hall. Hearing this, the sect master of Tianyinzong suddenly woke up like a dick. Yes. The Thousand Machines Hall was just different from being under the command of the Situ family, and it was slaughtered wildly by the other party. There were very few survivors. It can be said that the Qinji Temple, which has been based in the northwest for tens of thousands of years, just disappeared. As soon as this matter came out, any sect would feel terrified at the domineering behavior of the Situ family. This is also the reason why the sect master of Tianyinzong and the valley master of Spirit Insect Valley agreed to Qin Daoxian to form an alliance. Because in their opinion, no matter how strong Qin Daoxian is, he is always a monk in the northwest and he is his own. The Situ family is different. They are not only people from the land of Zhongzhou, but also behave in an unusually domineering style. Even if Tianyinzong and Spirit Insect Valley surrender to them, the future is very worrying. This simple truth, Tianyinzong sect master and Spirit Insect Valley master can see through it at a glance. Qinyuan Sword Sect. Looking at the Wan Xinghai cultivator who kept appearing in the teleportation array, concubine Qinshue said strangely, "Isn't Qin Lang a little too anxious for today's move? You mean I forcibly promoted spirit stone coins as soon as I won the title of alliance leader?" Concubine Qinshue nodded. The Northern Immortal Alliance was first established when people were unstable. Wouldn't it be too urgent to forcibly promote the Spirit Stone coins at this time? In the eyes of the Northern Immortal Alliance's sects and Xioshin families, he was undoubtedly looting the spiritual stones in their hands. Judging from the concubine's body, they only promised on the surface today, and they may not easily compromise behind the scenes. As a result, the prestige of your new alliance leader will be greatly affected. Qin Daoxian smiled and shook his head. You just pay too much attention to these political struggles. Today I asked the monks present to agree to implement the Spirit Stone coins. In the future, anyone who dares to obstruct in private will only have a dead end, Qin Daoxian said murderously. Fei Qinshue looked at him blankly, and had to admit that the current Qin Daoxian did have this strength. Everyone agreed to implement the Spirit Stone coins in public today. If they were to be obstructed in private, Qin Daoxian would never be soft-hearted in killing people. At that time he only needs to establish a few models, and the rest will make the right choice obediently. Certainly. There will definitely be some family forces that can't stand Qin Daoxian's domineering and will choose to leave other realms. For these people, Qin Daoxian didn't care at all. You can go, but it must not hinder his policy of making Lingxi coins the only legal currency in the Northern Fairy Gate. As long as someone dares to stop him from promoting the Spirit Stone coins, Qin Daoxian will definitely kill him. You are getting more and more domineering now, Fei Qinshue murmured. With the current strength of the Northern Immortal League, even if you look at the first-class forces, it is not a weak existence. The only thing we lack now is the recognition of Tianzuan City. Qin Daoxian nodded. If you want Tianzuan City to recognize an emerging first-class force, you need at least one Yuanshan Daojun in the force who has served in the battlefield outside the territory. Hearing this, Fei Qinshue frowned immediately. Going to serve in the battlefield outside the two realms? This is a difficult choice even for the third-layer Taoist in the world. After all, the damage rate of Yuanshan Daojun on the battlefield outside the territory is too high, especially the new Yuanshan Daojun. Among the many forces in the real demon world, there are world demons who specifically hunt and kill this newly serving Daojun. This also caused a large number of Daojins from the internal forces of Fengyun realm to be reluctant to serve on the battlefield outside the territory. Xiao Yua's behavior is just a microcosm of many Taoists. When Fei Qinshue thought that after breaking through the Yuanshan period, she would go to serve in an extraterritorial battlefield, and she also seemed a little concerned. Because in the battlefield outside the territory, even if your cultivation base can be invincible at the same level, how many world monsters are at the same level? Can you hit 2 with 1, 10 with 1, 100 with 1? The strength of the true demon realm far exceeds that of the Phoenix Meteor realm. The number of demons of the same rank naturally far exceeds that of the Phoenix Meteor realm. Many times, the monks of Fengyun realm faced the realm monsters and could only defend the city. Fortunately, almost all the immortal cities in Liangjiyuan were created by the Mahayana true immortals in the ancient times, which ensured that the cultivators of the Phoenix Meteor realm could defend the city. Otherwise, with these immortal cities inside the Phoenix Meteor realm, let alone defending the city, the world monsters can easily wipe it out. I thought about it, let's go to Liangjiyuan this time, we can go together. Hearing that Qin Daoxian was going to accompany her, concubine Qinshue suddenly forgot all the dangers. She smiled and said, "Okay, it's a deal. Don't be in a hurry to be happy. Although we go together, I went to Liangjiyuan not to accompany you to serve, but to have other things to do." Hearing this, Fei Qinshue felt a little gloomy. What's the matter? I'm going to a real immortal ruins, heard. Concubine Qinshue opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything after all. She knew why Qin Daoxian was so eager. In fact, all high-level monks who knew the threat of the real demon world would not feel anxious. Only the bottom-level cultivators of the Phoenix Meteor realm would feel that singing and dancing were peaceful. Although Qin Daoxian was eager, he already had a faint grasp of defeating the real demon world in his heart. In the past, all Qin Daoxian thought was to rely on his own vigorous accumulation to break through the Mahayana true immortal, so as to bless his relatives and friends. As for helping Fengyun realm defeat the true demon realm, he never thought about it. The strength gap between the Phoenix Meteor realm and the true demon realm cannot be leveled by the birth of a Mahayana true immortal. What if Qin Daoxian broke through to the Mahayana true immortal? Can he beat a true immortal level world demon? Can he beat 100, 1,000? The strength gap between the real demon world and the Phoenix Meteor world cannot be changed by a mere Mahayana true immortal. In the ancient times, when the Phoenix Meteor world was at its peak, how many Mahayana true immortals were there? The ancient books left behind cannot be recorded, but what is the result? It's not a world monster who hasn't won the real monster world. After these Mahayana true immortals ascended to the upper realm, as the Phoenix Meteor realm was swallowed up by the true demon realm bit by bit, the Phoenix Meteor realm was never able to give birth to the Mahayana true immortal. The true origin realm is different. Due to its devotion to the Phoenix Meteor realm, the true demon realm has also strengthened little by little over the years. The stronger the real demon world, the more powerful people will be born. In other words, after so many years of accumulation, the real power of the real demon world might be stronger than in the ancient times. From this point of view, the real demon world does not invade the Phoenix Meteor world, and it is more just dismissive. Because in their opinion, the fate of the Phoenix Meteor world has long been doomed, and it makes no difference whether they invade or not. But the birth of Yaoting changed the mind of the real demon world. The demon court wants to unify the real demon world, and the forces within the real demon world are too chaotic. In order to unify the real demon world, the demon court must establish a foreign enemy, and this foreign enemy is the Fengyun world. Although Yaoting also knew that Fengyun realm could not be an opponent of the true demon realm, it still needed this foreign enemy as an excuse for it to unify the real demon realm. In other words, once the demon court unifies the real demon world, it will inevitably start a genocide war against the Fengyun world. At that time, no matter whether it is a mortal or a monk, no one will be able to survive this doomsday catastrophe. Qin Daoxian seemed to see the worry on Fei Chengshi's face and comforted, "Don't worry, although this trip is dangerous, I will be fully prepared." Fei Qinxue nodded obediently. Up to now, she has adapted to the change in identity from Qinyuan Jianzong Sect Master to Qin Daoxian Dao Companion. Twin Lakes Island. Qin Family Dharma Instrument Research Institute. Qin Daoxuan's figure suddenly appeared in front of Qin Daochu. How about it? When Qin Daoxian saw Qin Daochu, the first sentence was to ask this inexplicable sentence. Qin Daochu kept shaking his head. "Patriarch, the sixth order puppet production line, how can it be so easy to get? You look down on me too much. Your Magical Tool Research Institute is not what it used to be. With thousands of high-level artifact refiners joining in, is there a sixth order puppet production line in the area? Can it be done for so long?" Hearing this, Qin Daochu was instantly furious. "Patriarch, speak with conscience. This is a sixth order puppet. The highest-ranking artifact refiner in our Magical Tool Research Institute is only a fifth-order artifact refiner. How can you come up with a sixth-order puppet production line so quickly? Woolen cloth?" Hearing this, Qin Daoxian couldn't help but ponder. He had to admit that what Qin Daochu said made sense. However, according to the scientific research experience of the previous life, enough manpower can greatly promote the progress of complex projects. And this theory does not hold true in the world of immortals. Wrong. Should not be established. Qin Daoxian suddenly thought of something. He looked at Qin Daochu and asked, "What is the specific research process for you to develop a sixth-order puppet production line?" Specific process? Qin Daochu was stunned, but he quickly replied, "We all adopt the method of competitive development, and arrange all the high-level refiners to develop this sixth-order puppet production line, and whoever develops it first will be rewarded." Qin Daoxian. Chapter 461. Think for a moment. Qin Daoxian said, "Dao Chu, can you subdivide the sixth-order insect puppet production line into small modules, and then let the high-level artifact refiners of the Artifact Research Institute develop it by division of labor and cooperation?" After thinking for a while, Qin Daochu sighed, "Patriarch, I have certainly tried the method you mentioned, but you also know that high-level instruments are highly integrated. To be able to split the research and development of high-level magic tools into small modules, there must be a very powerful artifact refiner to take the lead." Hearing this, Qin Daoxian thought that the same is true for scientific research projects in his previous life. Usually, a person who has mastered the overall situation is required to drive the entire scientific research team to run forward. Qin Daoxian glanced at Qin Daochu. After so many years of painstaking research on the art of refining, Qin Daochu's refining level was only one step away from the fifth-order refining master. The only pity is that Qin Daochu does not have such favorable conditions as Qin Daoxian, and can use the plug-in Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. Otherwise, Qin Daochu, who was so focused on the way of refining tools, might be able to refine seventh-order magic tools now. "Daochu, what do you think about you being the leading crafter?" Qin Daochu was stunned. The current Magical Instrument Research Institute is not as good as it used to be. Since the absorption of a large number of artifact refining masters from the Qinyuan Jianzhong Artifact Refining Hall, the strength of the Qin Family Magical Instrument Research Institute has skyrocketed. But it is also facing the problem that the Institute of Magical Instruments is gradually led by the monks of the Artifact Refining Temple. No way, the refining hall has cultivated far more refiners than the Qin family has cultivated over the years. Although the Qin family has spared no effort in cultivating refiners, the birth of high-level refiners requires a lot of resources and a long time, both of which are indispensable. Although the Qin family's high-level refiners are not inferior to Wan Xinghai's Yuanying family, they are still a lot weaker than Qinyuan Jianzhong. Not to mention, the thousands of fourth-order refiners in the Guangqianyuan sword sect are beyond the Qin family. Qin Daochu shook his head. Let's not say that the master of the Huyan Palace is a fifth-order refiner. Among those fourth-order refiners in the refining hall, there are quite a few who are more powerful than me. Item refining is the most important thing about strength. I'm not skilled enough. Forcing those who are higher than me will probably be counterproductive. Qin Daochu is very self-aware. Although he is now in charge of managing the Magical Instrument Research Institute in name, in fact, the burden of developing the magical instrument has been transferred to the Huyan Hall Master and others. Qin Daoxian is also well aware of this. But there is no way the Qin family's cultivator's level of refining is not as good as others, so he can only do it for others, and the layman directs the expert, which will only cause serious internal friction, and the final loss is the Qin family himself. It's not impossible to let Huyanqi lead the research on the sixth-order worm puppet production line, but I want to train you more. Qin Daoxian looked at him fixedly. You can also regard it as my selfishness. Patriarch. Qin Daochu was deeply moved. He has always known that Qin Daoxian is a very nostalgic person. Under his leadership, the Qin family has grown step by step to what it is today, but now, the forces under Qin Daoxian are not just the Qin family. The various sects in the northwest, as well as countless immortal cultivating families, all threw themselves under the command of the Northern Immortal Alliance. Today's Qin Daoxian is a veritable first monk in the northwest, and the overlord of the entire northwest immortal world. Although the Qin family is strong, but compared with these forces, there is nothing dazzling. Because except for Qin Daoxian, Qin Fuxing was the only one in the Qin family who had broken through to the nascent soul stage, and because of the cultivation that was forcibly promoted by swallowing Xing Yuandan, his Dao realm was inferior to that of monks of the same level. It can be said that if the Qin family does not have Qin Daoxian, its power is only an ordinary Yuanying family, and it is inconspicuous in the entire Northern Immortal League. But with Qin Daoxian, the Qin family became the royal family of the Northern Immortal League. The cultivators of the Qin family were all enlightened, and the chickens and dogs ascended to heaven. Now that the cultivators of the Qin family are out and about, they are naturally superior, and their status is higher than that of the Qinyuan sword sect disciples in Wangxinghai. All this was brought by Qin Daoxian, and the Qin family cultivator knew it well. Okay, if you don't speak, I'll take it as your agreement. Qin Daoxian said with a smile. Qin Daochu said anxiously, but I'm just a fourth-order craft refiner. Then use resources to pile you up to a fifth, or even sixth-order refiner, is it difficult? Qin Daoxian asked rhetorically. Enlightenment tea and various treasures that enhance your understanding will be open to supply you. Also, I will preach for you every day, and I will also personally instruct you on your art of refining. Hearing this, Qin Daochu nodded fiercely. Patriarch, don't worry if I can't take on this important task, then I'm too useless. This is what my Qin family should say. Qin Daoxian nodded in satisfaction. In fact, with the level of Qin Daoxuan's sixth-order artifact refiner, he can personally lead the development of this sixth-order insect puppet production line. But he wasn't going to do that. In fact, whether it is alchemy or weapon refining, Qin Daoxuan's principle is to let the forces under his command be responsible. As a leader of a force, it is impossible for him to cover everything, even if he has the ability. He once stood up as the battle force of the Qin family, because no one in the Qin family could take on this great responsibility. Even the most talented Qin Fuxing could not keep up with Qin Daoxuan's footsteps under the cultivation of various top resources. In desperation, Qin Daoxian had no choice but to stand up by himself as the external face of the Qin family. But for the refining of weapons and alchemy, he would never stand up for the Qin family or the monks under his command. Otherwise, what is the use of Qin Daoxuan's people? In the next days, Qin Daochu came to the Patriarch's immortal mansion every day to ask Qin Daoxian about the knowledge of artifact refining. In addition to preaching to the other party, Qin Daoxian also broke down his understanding of artifact refining a little bit and told Qin Daochu to listen. As time flows, Qin Daochu's refining level has improved by leaps and bounds. In less than 3 months his refining level has broken through to the 5th order, and it is still improving rapidly. After Qin Daochu officially broke through the 5th order refiner, he also announced to the high-level refiner of the Magical Instrument Research Institute that he would officially undertake the important task of developing the 6th order insect puppet production line. To this end, he also specially selected a group of these high-level refiners as members of his research team. As the second 5th order artifact refiner of the Qin Family Artifact Research Institute, everyone is quite convinced about his selection of team members. After all, Qin Daochu might not be as good at refining as Huyanqi for the time being, but he is much younger than Huyanqi. More importantly, Qin Daochu's cultivation was only in the late period of Zifu. With such a low level of cultivation, the refining level has reached the 5th rank. It can be said that this is a unique phenomenon in the entire history of Wang Xinghai's refining. Everyone is naturally curious. Driven by various reasons, Qin Daochu's R&D team was established very smoothly. Soon, Qin Daochu led the development of the 6th order worm puppet production line. Twin Lakes Island. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. In a secret room, Qin Daoxian was sitting cross-legged. In front of him, a metal structure the size of a grinding disc was quietly placed in front of him. This metal structure the size of a grinding disc is the biggest masterpiece of the Thousand Machines Hall for tens of thousands of years, the insect puppet. As a kind of puppet, the worm puppet, like other puppets, also has driving energy. Other puppets are generally driven by spiritual energy and formation, and the same is true for the worm puppet in front of them. But the difference between the two is that the energy cores of other puppets are mostly high-level spirit stones with high energy density. The energy core of the insect puppet is something called a spiritual core. Through the inheritance of the Thousand Machines Hall, Qin Daoxian figured out what the spiritual core is. To be precise, it is an extremely compressed spiritual stone aggregate. Compared with ordinary high-level spiritual stones, the spiritual energy stored in the spiritual core is tens of millions of times higher. To some extent, spiritual core and spiritual stone are not the same thing. Take the simplest example. When the spiritual energy in the spiritual stone is exhausted, the puppet will no longer function. Therefore, the high-level spiritual stone of ordinary puppets is not the driving energy, but the starting energy that attracts the external spiritual energy. To put it simply, ordinary puppets rely on the combined effect of spirit stones and spirit-gathering formations to attract outside spiritual energy to drive the movement of the puppets. But the insect puppet is not the case. Its spiritual core not only stores the unimaginable spiritual energy of the spiritual stone, but also continuously attracts the external spiritual energy to replenish itself. In other words, with the spiritual core, the worm puppet is equivalent to having a steady stream of energy. In the words of the previous life, this will make the output power of the worm puppet far exceed that of ordinary puppets. This is also the fundamental reason why the rank of the insect puppet can be as high as the 6th rank. You must know that it is not an easy task for any kind of puppet to reach the 6th rank. Although the 6th order puppet cannot be compared with Yuanshin Daojun, it is enough to deal with ordinary Yuanying monks. Of course, the premise is that the Yuanying cultivator has to fight with the 6th order puppet if he can't think of it. In addition to the core energy, the main material of the insect puppet is several 6th order spiritual minerals. You must know that the higher the grade of the spirit ore, the greater its value. The Chen family made their fortune in the past, and it was only by trading the Wangxinghai seabed spiritual ore with the shark people and earning the price difference that it became bigger step by step. But that is only the 1st and 2nd order spiritual ore. The 6th order spiritual ore is very rare even for major sects such as Qinyuan Jianzong and Qianji Temple. After all, the resources in the northwest are barren, unlike Zhongzhou, not to mention the 6th order spiritual or even the 7th order spiritual ore, which is not uncommon. It's just that most of these cherished resources are monopolized by Wuji Xianmen, and the rest of the scraps are divided up by the vassal forces of Wuji Xianmen, such as the Situ family. The northwest land has not been coveted by the outside world for so many years, and a large part of the reason is also because it is too barren. Except for the low-level monks and the high-level monks above the nascent soul stage, few people are willing to stay here for cultivation. The worm puppet created by the Thousand Machines Hall is an excellent material for refining Taoist soldiers. Puppets are the foundation of Taoist soldiers. A good puppet will make the refined Taoist soldiers stronger. Qin Daoxian did not know whether the strength of the Taoist soldiers refined by the insect puppets was strong, but it was very rare for it to consume so little spirituality. Of course, all of this is just speculation from the Temple of Thousand Machines. Whether the worm puppet is so powerful, Qin Daoxian is still unclear. Today, let's see if the oath I made to the great Tao is worth it. Qin Daoxian took out a jade bottle and opened it slowly. In the jade bottle, a golden light spot floated. Spirituality. Qin Daoxian took a deep breath and guided the golden light spot in the bottle with his divine sense. As soon as the golden light spot leaves the jade bottle, it will dissipate when it comes into contact with the outside air. Seeing this, Qin Daoxian did not dare to neglect, and directly introduced the golden light spot into the body of the worm. As the golden light spots merged into the body, the originally quiet body of the insect puppet trembled violently. Immediately afterwards, the body of the insect puppet began to emit golden light, and its body continued to shrink. This? Qin Daoxian was stunned by the scene in front of him. The worm puppet shrank smaller and smaller. At first it was the size of a grinding disc. Soon, it became the size of a spirit stone, and finally, it became the size of a grain of rice. It's just this grain of rice that emits a faint light in the air like a firefly in the night sky. Is this a worm puppet soldier? Qin Daoxian couldn't believe it. If it weren't for the aura of this insect soldier, Qin Daoxian would have doubted the combat effectiveness of this little one. Although in the immortal cultivation world, strength is not absolutely related to body size, but it is not so small. It's too small. Qin Daoxian muttered. Just when he was about to test the strength of this insect soldier, his communication jade talisman rang. Patriarch. As soon as the communication jade talisman was connected, Qin Daoxian heard Qin Daoqi's excited voice. The insect puppet production line is completed. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian was overjoyed. After 1,000 hopes, the insect puppet production line has finally been successfully built. Although building a magical tool production line is already familiar to the Qin family's Magical Tool Research Institute, this insect puppet is a 6th-order magical tool after all. With such a high rank, Qin Daoxian really didn't expect Qin Daoqiu to succeed so quickly. I'm coming here. After putting this sentence down, Qin Daoxian immediately expanded his consciousness, locked Qin Daoqi's position, and a teleportation appeared beside the other party. Patriarch. Alliance. When everyone saw Qin Daoxian, they saluted him. Qin Daoxian can probably recognize that most of these people are high-level refiners in the Qinyuan Sword Sect Refining Hall, and only a few are 4th-level refiners trained by the Qin family. Don't be too polite. Qin Daoxian didn't care about being polite to everyone, and turned to look at Qin Daoqiu. Where's the worm puppet production line? At this. Qin Daoqiu immediately ordered people to move away, and suddenly, a huge machine tool appeared in Qin Daoxian's line of sight. Qin Daoxian stepped forward and touched the metal body of this huge machine tool, and he couldn't help feeling excited. You reading www.Akanshu.com. If the emergence of the Rongling furnace is just the industrial germination of the Xiuxian world, then the birth of the magic tool machine tool is a sign of the maturity of the industrialization of the Xiuxian world. Boom dash, the huge instrument machine roared. Under the control of Qin Daoqiu, in just 10 days, a 6th-order worm puppet appeared in front of Qin Daoxian. Not counting the materials for making worm puppets, this magic tool machine can make a worm puppet in 10 days. More importantly, according to Qin Daoqi's description, this machine tool was made by everyone. That is to say, it does not require a 6th-order refiner to create it. In other words, through it, the refiner can create a 6th-order worm puppet by leaps and bounds, provided that only a group of 4th-order refiners work together. This undoubtedly broke the refining rules of the Phoenix Meteor world for countless years. In the past, Tier 1 artifact refiners could only refine Tier 1 magical artifacts. But now the facts tell Qin Daoxian not necessarily. A Tier 1 crafter can also create a Tier 2 magical artifact, as long as more Tier 1 crafters are needed. According to this trend, as long as there are enough high-level refiners in the future, wouldn't they be able to create pure young immortal artifacts? Of course, it's a little far off to talk about pure young immortal artifacts now. What Qin Daoxian wants to do most now is to build a worm puppet production line with all his strength and then explode soldiers. https:// Chapter 462 True Demon World. The 4 Great Demon Realms. Wasteland Demon Realm. The 4 major demon kingdoms, including the Qingqiu Demon Country opposite the Wangxinghai Passage, are located in the Wilderness Demon Domain. And now, the base camp of the demon court, which has set off huge waves in the real demon realm, is located in the most extensive wolf-greedy demon realm among the 4 major demon realms. Therefore, the greedy wolf demon realm has always been regarded as the core realm of the true demon realm, and its status is equivalent to the land of Jianghu in Xianyun continent. However, the area of the greedy wolf demon domain is many times larger than that of Jianghu. After careful calculation, I am afraid that the total land area of the entire Xianyun continent may not be comparable to the wolf-greedy demon realm. This is the horror of the real demon realm. In the demon land of the wasteland, the barbarian roaring demon country is only 1,000,000 miles away from the Qingqiu demon country. The barbarian roaring demon kingdom is not one of the 4 major demon kingdoms conquered by the Qianyuan sword sect, but in terms of the land area of the demon kingdom, the barbarian roaring monster kingdom is even larger than the 4 great monster kingdoms combined. Most importantly, according to the information provided by the 4 demon nations, this roaring demon country, in the first round of lobbying by the envoy of the demon court, chose to join the demon court. This time the 2 sides have nothing to say. Standing behind the 4 big demon kingdoms is the Wan Xinghai in the past, and now the Northern Immortal Alliance, which is a hardcore opponent of the demon court unifying the real demon world. In order to delay the unification of the real demon world by the demon court, Qin Daoxian even proposed a method of exporting magic weapons to the anti-influence forces in the real demon world. However, the anti-regime forces in the real demon world are also demons after all. Qin Daoxian's move, although he can make a lot of profits, also strengthens the power of the demon in disguise. If the unification of the real demon world is irreversible, they will have a large number of human race instruments that can be used directly. Originally, the use of magic weapons was the only place where human monks were stronger than world demons. After Qin Daoxian's actions, perhaps in the future, the gap between the magical weapons between the 2 sides will become dispensable. At that time, once the war completely breaks out, the disadvantage of the human race monks will be even greater. Therefore, at the moment when the Qin Family Magical Instrument Research Institute was able to build the insect puppet production line, Qin Daoxian changed the normal trading model he had envisaged and changed it to plundering by force. It has to be admitted that among all the methods of plundering by force is the only way to maximize the weakening of the enemy and the enhancement of oneself. If you want to do something more extreme, it is to genocide the plundered objects while plundering them by force. This is the new policy formulated by Qin Daoxian. It is precisely because of this new policy that there has been a storm in the wasteland demon domain. The red-scaled demon lord is the frontier of the wild roaring demon kingdom. In front of the scarlet-scaled demon lord, a young cultivator wearing a crescent-colored Taoist robe, holding Taoist on his head, and a handsome young cultivator talked eloquently. Looking at the human race envoy in front of him, the scarlet-scaled demon lord hurriedly lowered his head and said, "Your Majesty, that's right." Chen Fuxing nodded. "I heard that the lord of this wild roaring demon country is a Taoist-level demon, is it true?" The scarlet-scaled demon lord hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, "It's true. Speaking of which, my Qingqiu demon nation was originally a subsidiary demon nation of the barbarian roar demon nation." Oh. Hearing these remarks, Qin Fuxing was taken aback. Originally, he thought that the 4 major demon kingdoms were located in remote places, there is no power restriction on the top of the head, and I didn't expect a suzerain demon kingdom to pop up. Seeing Qin Fuxing so surprised, the scarlet-scaled demon lord lowered his eyebrows and explained, "Your Excellency, let alone the Qingqiu demon nation of the slave family, it is our strongest demon nation of Great Yuan, and it also belongs to the barbarian demon nation in name." What? I don't know about the other big demon kingdoms, but our Qingqiu demon country, every 100 years, will pay tribute to the barbarian roar demon country. Not only that, every time our Qingqiu demon country attacks, we also specially select a large number of young clansmen, morphing into human form for the pleasure of these smelly lizards. Every time they ravage and torture our people, they will eat them directly. Slave family. Talking. The scarlet-scaled demon lord put on a sobbing look in front of Qin Fuxing. If it wasn't for the fluffy snow-white tails behind her swept around, Qin Fuxing would have been deceived by her delicate appearance. It turns out that you are all affiliated demon kingdoms of the wild roaring monster kingdom. No wonder your 4 major demon kingdoms have been in constant friction for so many years, but they haven't started a war to destroy the country. Qin Fuxing nodded clearly. He finally figured out why the Jia demon nation was so weaker than the Great Yuan demon nation, yet it was not destroyed by the neighboring Great Yuan demon nation. It is not that the great Yuan demon nation is benevolent, but that there is a common suzerain demon nation over the heads of the great Yuan demon nation and the extreme night demon nation. Think of this. Chen Fuxing couldn't help laughing. It seems that even if we don't come to trouble the Manho monster nation this time, they will come to us sooner or later. Hearing this, the scarlet-scaled demon lord smiled shyly but did not speak. Of course she knew that what Chen Fuxing said was the truth. The Northern Immortal Alliance took over all the subordinate demon states of the Manho demon nation at one time. If its suzerain demon state did not stand up, wouldn't the large and small demon states under its control be all going to be troubled in the future? This precedent is absolutely impossible. With a slight cough, the scarlet-scaled demon lord said cautiously, "Envoy, do you think we fought all the way from the border of the Manho demon nation, or?" Chen Fuxing straightened his body, shook his head and said, "It's too slow to beat the cities, of course. It's the kingdom of the wild roaring demon kingdom." Chen Fuxing's choice was exactly the same as when Chen Daoxian conquered the Qingqiu demon nation. He wanted to use his absolute strength to directly sweep the top-level power of the Manho demon nation. If it was just relying on Chen Fuxing and him to bring these few demon masters, of course it couldn't be done. Not only can he not do it, but if a few Yuan-ing level combat powers dare to make trouble in the country of the wild roaring demon kingdom, it is estimated that they will be crushed to the point where there is no scum left. But this time, Chen Fuxing brought the latest one-star insect soldier created by the Northern Immortal League, the Monster Eater. The name, Monster Devouring Insect, was originated by Chen Daoxian, which means to devour the world monster. As for the combat power of the Monster Eater, Chen Daoxian personally tested it, and it was even stronger than the one-star Taoist soldier he bought. Although the Monster Eater cannot rely on the formation method to greatly improve its own strength like the Taoist team, but as an insect soldier, once the size of the Monster Eater reaches a certain level, there will be a qualitative change. This time, Chen Fuxing brought 1,000 of the more than 1,000 Monster Eaters produced by the Chen family in the past 2 years in order to crusade against the wild roaring demon nation and to test the ability of the Monster Eaters to fight on a large scale. People who don't know why will think that 1,000 humanoid soldiers are a huge number. But 1,000 insect soldiers are no big deal. In fact, 1,000 insect soldiers are stronger than 1,000 one-star Taoist soldiers. Because the Taoist soldiers can only use the formation method to fully exert their own strength, but the insect soldiers are not the case. The more they gather, the greater the threat. If a sea of worms can be formed, it will be a scene of complete despair. However, 1,000 soldiers can barely use the formation method to integrate their strength. What if there are more humanoid soldiers? Can the formation still play a sufficient role? This is the natural disadvantage of humanoid soldiers. Humanoid soldiers are so much like human monks, so there are so many restrictions. Although it is similar to the human race cultivator, the humanoid warrior has the ability to cultivate human race spells and cast human race magic weapons, but it also makes the humanoid warrior lose the opportunity to maximize their combat power. World demons are not proficient in spells, and they are not very good at using magical tools, but are they weak? Not really. Demons of the same rank are often stronger than human monks. And insect soldiers are the same way. Thousands of Machines Hall has gone through countless genius puppet masters for tens of thousands of years, and this has created a kind of insect puppet that can perfectly exert its own strength. It can be said that if the Hall of Thousand Machines is immortal, the future will be limitless. Let's go. Chen Fuxing glanced at the direction of Manho Yaogua Kingdom, and with several demon masters, he went straight to the capital of Manho Yaogua Kingdom. Passing through the major cities in the demon country, Chen Fuxing saw too many horrible sights. But the demon masters behind him have long been accustomed to it. Realm monsters feed humans and eat, in their eyes, it is just as natural as humans keep pigs and sheep. The closer he got to the country of the wild roaring demon kingdom, the more livid Chen Fuxing's face became. Until he set foot in the demon kingdom of Manho, the anger had already accumulated in Chen Fuxing's chest. I see. He stood in the sky, flew over the demon kingdom of Man roaring, and mustered up his mana to shout, "Get out! Come out! Come on!" This huge roar pierced through the sky and reverberated throughout the country of Barbarian Roar. Only for a moment. A team of world demons wearing golden armor, a lizard head, a human body, and a height of several meters flew straight towards Chen Fuxing. Human doll? Seeing Chen Fuxing, the lizard world demon headed by him was stunned, and then the golden vertical boy showed a cruel and tyrannical color. "Brothers, it's actually a human doll." "Ah. Brother, I want to eat his legs. I want to eat the heart." In a few words, This group of demons from the roaring country actually divided up Chen Fuxing like this. They are so fearless, and of course they have confidence. Not to mention that this is the country of the wild roaring demon nation. Just relying on their true monarch-level world demon team, they can easily tear Chen Fuxing and the several demon masters behind it to shreds. Chen Fuxing looked at the scene in front of him coldly, not even interested in speaking. I saw that he took out a gourd-shaped instrument from his arms, and then the gourd instrument was slowly opened by him. Immediately after, a light spot the size of a grain of rice flew out of the gourd instrument, and then the light spots of rice grains gathered more and more. This is an extremely terrifying coercion directly enveloped the lizard world demon who was headed by him. It also wanted to say something, but the next moment the golden light spot completely drowned it. Until the moment when it was completely destroyed, it didn't figure out what it was that killed it. Seeing that the leader of the team was killed, the rest of the real monarch-level demons were startled and instinctively wanted to disperse. It's just that these insect soldiers are small, but each has the strength of a one-star Taoist soldier. Where can these real monarch-level demons be able to compete? Less than a breath. All the lizard world monsters were overtaken by the monster eaters and devoured them cleanly. From the beginning to the end, Chen Fuxing, apart from taking out the gourd magic weapon, only had one action left, and that was to take a photo of the photo stone. This time Qin Daoxian dispatched the monster eater, not simply to exterminate the barbaric roaring monster country. Instead, he wanted to destroy the demon roar country and test the strength of the monster eater. In fact, in order to ensure the safety of Chen Fuxing, Qin Daoxian took out a 3-star Taoist team to protect the Taoism for him. Boom! At the moment when the entire army of this world demon team was wiped out, there was an earth-shattering roar from the country and the country. Even if he was 100 miles away, Chen Fuxing could feel the anger in the roar. So, a flash of light flew straight towards him. Fear. In Chen Fuxing's heart, a sense of panic suddenly surged. This one is definitely a Daojuan-level world demon. Behind him, the world monsters such as Qi Scale were also shivering with fright. Because they all recognized it, this man is the lord of the demon country man. The lizard world demon in front of him is over 10 feet tall, with dark golden scales all over his body. You must know that this is just the normal form of the lord of the Manho kingdom. Once the world demon recovers its demon body, it will skyrocket in size, just like a human cultivator casting a magic elephant. Perhaps it was because of his vigilance that Chen Fuxing would abolish the most elite world demon team under his command in a single encounter. The demon lord of the wild roar country did not dare to be careless at all, and showed his true demon body directly in front of Chen Fuxing. As the opponent's true demon body was revealed, a world demon with a figure of several thousand feet appeared in front of Chen Fuxing. This is a huge lizard, and its limbs stomped directly into the wild roaring demon kingdom, no matter how many lizard world demons were buried under its feet. Yun Xiao floated around its body, and its golden child hole stared at the golden light spot in front of Chen Fuxing, and then its body trembled slightly. Who the are you? The giant lizard babbled. It scared. When it cast the source world projection and saw clearly the spot of light in front of Chen Fuxing, it was afraid. A full 1,000 one-star soldiers. Although the shape of these one-star Taoist soldiers is very strange, the breath on them cannot be faked. Who is this person? The lord of Manho Kingdom was madly filial in his heart, and he remembered that he had never offended any strong human race. In fact, not all the demons want to go to Liangjiyuan to fight. For example, the 4 demon kingdoms and the barbaric roar country located in the wilderness demon domain. If there is no such thing as the demon court, whether it is the 4 big demon kingdoms or the roaring demon kingdom, they are unwilling to intervene in the battle of Liangjiyuan. Although the strength of the demon side is far superior to the human monks, it does not mean that the barbaric demon country is stronger than the human monks. The lord of Manho Yaogua knew in his heart that once it really entered the battlefield in the future, it would be nothing more than an advanced cannon fodder. How could it be so refreshing to be a hegemon in Manho Yaogua? It was not until the envoy of the demon court came to the door, which was both a lure and a threat, that it compromised and agreed to join the demon court. Suddenly thought of something. Lord Manho seemed to grab the last straw and shouted, "You can't kill me, I am from Yaoting. If you kill me, Yaoting will never let you go." When Chen Fuxing heard it mention Yaoting, he suddenly became angry. "Yes," Chen Fuxing said coldly. After that, he waved his hand directly, and saw that the insect soldiers, which were originally the size of a grain of rice, had skyrocketed, becoming larger than the spirit boat that Chen Fuxing used to ride. Afterwards, these insect soldiers roared and rushed towards the lizard realm demon. https:// Chapter 463, Twin Lakes Island. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. Qin Daoxian looked at the purple-colored purple thunder skyfire in front of him, and bit by bit devoured the last golden crow shard in his hand, and his breath rose again. Phew! Devouring 11 pieces of golden crow in a row, the transformation finally succeeded. There was a hint of joy in Qin Daoxian's eyes. Several years have passed since the establishment of the Northern Immortal Alliance. During this time, Qin Daoxian completely integrated the various sects in the Northwest, as well as the intricate forces of the Xiuxian family. At least on the bright side, in this northwestern frontier, no cultivator dared to stand up and defy the decision of the Northern Immortal Alliance. This can be seen from the fact that the Spirit Stone coins officially replaced the Spirit Stones, the Power of Good Fortune and various other spirits, and became the only legal currency in the Northwest frontier. Although there were some clan forces who did not know whether to live or die in the process of promoting the Spirit Stone coins, they were strongly opposed, but they were all suppressed by Qin Daoxian. In the face of absolute force, everyone has only one way to accept it. After all, the world of immortal cultivation is the most important thing about strength. Qin Daoxian's strength is strong enough, naturally no one dares to oppose him. After solving the currency problem of the Northern Immortal League, what Qin Daoxian will rectify next is the spiritual vein problem of the Northern Immortal League. Well known. Whether it is to refine the Spirit Stone into the power of good fortune, or use the Spirit Stone as a transaction currency, it is actually a great waste of the value of the Spirit Stone. The real function of the Spirit Stone is to nurture the spirit veins. Only in this way can the effect of the Spirit Stone be maximized. Generally speaking, 100,000 spiritual stones can breed a first-order spiritual vein, which is enough for 100 chi-refining cultivators to practice. And a third-order spiritual vein costs tens of millions of spiritual stones. Compared with the huge reserves in the Spirit Stone mine, this little bit of Spirit Stone is not even a drop in the bucket. But in the past, these Spirit Stone mines were all controlled by the cultivators and the major sections. And the powers of the major immortals and sects are all high-level monks. For high-level monks, the role of Spirit Stones can almost be ignored. For them, the only function of the Spirit Stone is to refine the power of creation. Therefore, in addition to sending out a part of the Spirit Stones to the market for low-level monks to trade, most of the Spirit Stones are stored by them as raw materials for refining the power of creation. Although this move is beneficial to these high-level monks, it is undoubtedly a great waste and injustice to the bottom-level monks. It is clear that 10 million spiritual stones can breed a third-order spiritual vein, which can supply a Zifu cultivator and dozens of foundation-building cultivators, but these high-level monks are not willing to take out the spiritual stones to breed the spiritual veins. Qin Daoxian didn't understand at first. Until Fei Qinxue said, if the scattered cultivator has mastered a lot of spiritual veins, how can the sect deal with it? When he heard this sentence he completely woke up. It turned out that the high-level monks of the major sects were not completely selfish, but were afraid that the rise of loose cultivators would threaten their own rule. Whether ordinary or cultivator, the ruler's priority must be his own ruling power and nothing else. But from Qin Daoxian's point of view, was he afraid that the rise of loose cultivators would threaten him? If you change to the past you may be a little scared. But when he read the inheritance of the worm puppet of the Qinji Temple and the worm puppet production line developed by the Qin Family Magical Instrument Research Institute, he was not afraid at all. In the past, the senior leaders of the major sects were worried about the fact that the cultivation base of the loose cultivator was high and the strength was strong, which would bring great instability. But Qin Daoxian was confident and assured that even if the Northern Immortal League's scattered cultivators became stronger in the future, they would not pose too much threat to him. He dared to be so sure, and naturally he had the confidence. As a result, Qin Daoxian decided that while cultivating a large number of spiritual veins in the Northwest, a school of immortality was established on top of these spiritual veins. That's right, he wants to replicate the Qin family's model of cultivating monks to the entire Northern Immortal League. One of the benefits of cultivating monks from an early age is to instill loyalty education in these monks. Let me ask, how likely is it that a cultivator will betray the Northern Immortal Alliance when he grows up? Even if there are such white-eyed wolves, the number must be very small. On the contrary, in the past, the heavily exploitative governance methods of the major sects caused the loose cultivators to resent the major sections. However, although these loose cultivators hated the major sects and the immortal family in their hearts, they suffered from lack of strength and were unable to resist, so they could only resign. This is also the reason why loose cultivators never work hard for Zongmen and Xiuxian families, because they have no reason to work hard. The sect disciples and the monks of the Xiuxian family looked down on the loose cultivators, but they didn't know that the loose cultivators also hated them in their hearts. At this point, when Qin Daoxian was weak at the beginning, he had deep feelings. In addition to establishing immortal cultivation schools in the major spiritual meridians, Qin Daoxian is not afraid of the greatest confidence in the rebellion of scattered cultivation, which naturally comes from absolute strength. According to Qin Daoxian's vision, he has two purposes in establishing immortal schools in the Northwest in the future. The first purpose is naturally to enhance the overall strength of the Northern Immortal League and weaken the influence of the Northern Immortal League sects and families. The second purpose, he needs a lot of talent. The talents here not only refer to powerful cultivators, but also more top-level refiners like Qin Daoqiu. In fact, as the process of industrialization continues to bring surprises to Qin Daoxian, he has gradually doubted whether his personal strength can suppress everything. Although he went all the way, he relied on his own strength to suppress everything. But always relying on his personal strength, he can suppress it for a while but also for a lifetime? Even if he can subdue the northwestern sects in the future, he will subdue the major immortal regions and even the central province, and even subdue the top forces in the entire Liangjiyuan. Can he conquer the real demon world? Impossible. Even if he breaks through to the realm of Mahayana true immortal, it is absolutely impossible. The real demon world has been swallowing up the Phoenix meteor world for countless years, and its underlying strength is much stronger than when the two worlds collided. These backgrounds will inevitably lead to the birth of a considerable number of real fairy-level demons in the real demon world. In the ancient times, the most prosperous period of the Phoenix meteor realm failed to win the Phoenix meteor realm, let alone now. Not only Qin Daoxian but in fact all the top forces in Tianzuan City are well aware of this truth. If there is one word to describe the current Fengyun realm, it would be lingering. It's just that its lingering time will be very long, longer than the lifespan of heavenly venerate transcending tribulation, so no one will feel anxious. After all, when the real demon world completely engulfs the Phoenix meteor world, the people in this world are afraid that they will already be sitting down. But others are not anxious. Qin Daoxian is anxious. Compared with other monks who have no hope of becoming a Mahayana true immortal, Qin Daoxian, who has a profound background, never doubts whether he can break through to the Mahayana true immortal in the future. However, if he breaks through to the Mahayana true immortal in the future, the first threat he will face is the true demon realm. The so-called sky is falling, and there is a tall person, and at that time he will be the tallest person in the Fengyun world. Who will he bear if he doesn't? However, alone he can't stand it. This point is not that Qin Daoxian grows others' ambition and destroys his own prestige. As he learned more and more about the war between the two worlds in the ancient times, his confidence became weaker and weaker. In the ancient times, so many Mahayana true immortals failed to win the true demon realm, and now he is the only one? Qin Daoxian felt a chill in his heart every time he thought of this. Even now, if he was asked to single out hundreds of thousands of monks of the same rank without the help of Taoist soldiers, he would feel guilty. What's more, the further you practice, the more difficult it will be to crush the heroes in the same realm. Because there is no mediocre person who can cultivate to the true immortal of Mahayana. Every Mahayana true immortal can only be created after countless opportunities, and they are originally favored by the luck of heaven and earth. On his own, how could Qin Daoxian be like slaughtering chickens and slaughtering dogs? Unless his cultivation is even better. However, in the lower realm, the Mahayana true immortal is already the limit, and Qin Daoxian wants to break through to a higher realm unless he ascends to the upper realm. Here is another paradox. If Qin Daoxian can fly to the upper realm, does he still need to fight hard against the real demon realm? He just ran for his life. Give up the Qin family, give up everything in the Fengyun world, and use the Ascension to escape directly. It's not that Qin Daoxian didn't think about it and he was shaken, but in the end he gave up running for his life. There is no reason, because running for his life runs counter to the Tao in his heart. In the secret room, Qin Daoxian put away Zile Tianhua, stood up and stretched. It takes a long time to refine 11 pieces of golden crow in a row. Just purchasing this batch of golden crow fragments consumes a lot of the power of creation. It is also a loss that Qin Daoxian has seized the spirit stone mines in the entire northwest, and there is no shortage of spirit stones in his hands. In addition, the Qingmu Ding can extract a large amount of the power of good fortune. Today, the power of creation that other high-level cultivators regard as treasures, in the eyes of Qin Daoxian, is just a set of numbers. Not to mention that Qin Daoxian is ready to open up the real demon world. The demons of the real demon world don't need such things as spirit stones. In fact, the cultivation of the world monster only requires spirituality, not spiritual energy and other cultivation resources. If it weren't for the fact that the demons had to feed on the human monks, the two could coexist to some extent. But their characteristics of feeding on the human race are destined to be a life-and-death situation for both parties. As soon as he stood up, Qin Daoxuan's consciousness moved slightly, and then he disappeared into the secret room. Out of the secret room, Qin Daoxian stood in the courtyard of Xianfu, looking at Qin Fuxing who came from the sky, the corner of his mouth raised slightly. He sent Qin Fuxing to the real demon world to test the strength of the insect soldiers accumulated during this period, but he did not expect the other party to come back so soon. Fuxing. Seeing Qin Daoxian, Qin Fuxing quickly lowered his escape light, bowed respectfully towards Qin Daoxian and said, "Fuxing sees the patriarch." Qin Daoxian waved his hand casually, indicating that the other party does not need to be more polite, and said, "How is it, heard?" Qin Fuxing was about to take out the magic gourd containing 1,001-star insect soldiers, and then took out a shadow stone from the storage ring and handed it over. Qin Daoxian took the gourd and the shadow stone. He put away the insect soldier directly and activated the photo stone. Immediately, the scene of the insect soldiers showing great power in the Manho kingdom appeared in Qin Daoxuan's field of vision. First, a pair of real monarch-level demons of a dozen people were directly swallowed, and then the king of Manho kingdom directly killed Qin Fuxing. But even if the other party reveals the real body of the world demon, and uses the magic power of the source world to swallow, he wants to swallow all these insect soldiers. Qin Daoxian looked at the monitor lizard of several thousand feet and swallowed the insect soldier with a size of several hundred feet, and sneered, "Stupid, really?" As soon as Qin Daoxuan's words fell, the monitor lizard, which was several thousand meters tall, rolled wildly on the ground. With its huge body, the barbarian Roar Kingdom was directly crushed into ruins by him. But neither Qin Daoxian nor Qin Fuxing cared about it. Next moment, the Daojuan-level lizard world monster immediately stopped moving, and then a golden worm soldier burst out of its body. Then the second one, the third one. As more and more insect soldiers drilled out of his body, the body of this lizard world monster is also decreasing crazily. In the end, all its demon bodies, including the source world, were swallowed up by the insect soldiers. Qin Daoxian found that after swallowing a Daojuan-level world demon, there were several insect soldiers that ate the most, and the breath on his body seemed to be stronger. It's just that there are too many insect soldiers who eat this lizard world monster, there are a full 1,000, so their enhanced breath is not obvious. Seeing this, Qin Daoxian didn't say anything. Insect soldiers have the characteristics of devouring evolution, which Qin Daoxian knew early on. He has seen devouring, but he has not seen evolution yet. Of course, Qin Daoxian also knew in his heart that if he only devoured a Daojuan-level world demon, he wanted to make 1,000 one-star insect soldiers evolve, which was undoubtedly a fantasy. If the insect soldiers were so perverted, Qin Daoxian would directly take these 1,000 insect soldiers to sweep the entire real demon world. Well done. After reading the entire picture recorded on the photo stone, Qin Daoxian smiled and patted Qin Fuxing on the shoulder. Hearing Qin Daoxuan's praise, Qin Fuxing smiled, but suddenly he remembered something and quickly took out a storage ring from his pocket, handed it over and said, "By the way, Patriarch, this is when I passed through the 4 great demon kingdoms. Their newly mined somite. I know that the real body of the Patriarch is imminent, so I brought it back to you specially." Taking over the storage ring in Qin Fuxing's hand, the expression on Qin Daoxuan's face became even more satisfied. "You have a heart." Qin Fuxing shook his head. "The Patriarch must not say that, these are what I should do as a junior." He paused. "I know that my strength is low. I am neither good at refining weapons like Uncle Daochu, nor proficient in family management like Aunt Dalian. I can only do a little for you, the Patriarch." Seeing that he looked a little lonely, Qin Daoxian comforted, "Fuxing, I know that you have always wanted to protect the Chen family, but you feel that your strength is weak and not enough to protect the Chen family. Your heart, I understand. However, as you have seen, not only my Chen family but the entire Northern Immortal League will usher in a change in the future. In the future, perhaps a cultivator's personal strength will no longer be the decisive factor in determining the rise and fall of a power." Hearing this, Qin Fuxing was shocked. But then he thought of the terrifying power of the insect soldiers again, and he couldn't help but be silent for a while. He knew that what the patriarch said was not nonsense. The emergence of insect soldiers has indeed broken the status quo that monks can swept away everything by relying solely on personal force. The most important thing is that Qin Fuxing knows that these insect soldiers can be manufactured in batches, and its manufacturing cost is much lower than that of ordinary Taoist soldiers. https:// You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.